Seems to be going very well. Evans, well, he needs to keep up there. Doesn't need to lose too much time. Cadel Evans, he'll turn in a good stage 1 time trial time. It's a very good time trial, so you know it's a short one for him. He's got the number 1 on his back. And why not? He is the world champion. Well, Dennis Menchoff is not here. We've elected to give him the number 1. Top right then is David Miller. Top left, Bradley Wiggins just spinning those pedals much, much quicker. At the bottom, Cadel Evans. I need to get the intermediate checkpoints as soon as they come in. Back with Ivan Basso. Oh, not super fast time for Miller. 7th fastest for Miller at the first intermediate checkpoint. So expect the time of Bradley Wiggins to come up very shortly. Then Basso, then Evans. Then we've got Eros Kopecky off the ramp. Then Alexander Vinokurov. Here comes Wiggins. Well, Wiggins is really going for this one. And surely, I mean, I'm suggesting that perhaps, you know, if he were to take a big jersey early on, it takes up the pressure off him as a team leader. It's successful, whatever happens. Of course, he'd like to do well, but he can let that go in the next couple of days. It's not really a huge issue. And then he can regather his forces and those of the rest of his team. This is Alexander Vinokurov. But I'm more interested, frankly, in what these split times are. We know that David Miller is 7th fastest at this point. Fastest at the intermediate checkpoint was Brent Buckwalter. And then Tom Stamschneider, Vincenzo Nibali, Jos van Enden, Gustavo Glasson, and Matthias Brandl. Then David Wiggins. Here comes Wiggins. Here comes Miller. That's the time he's aiming for. It's not going to happen for David Miller. And he's still a great, great time trialist, but I'm just wondering whether some of his better time trialing days are a little bit behind him now. He pulls out a really good one now and again. A bit short maybe for him, this one. Still a good time though. It's going to get him in the top 3 or 4. 3rd fastest for David Miller. 4 seconds down. That puts him in a good position for the next few days. Just goes to show how good the time of Brent Buckwalter is. And Greg Henderson, 3 seconds down. Well, we're going to have to take one more commercial break before we concentrate on the rest of the riders for the rest of the time. We'll try and get this commercial break in before Wiggins comes in for his finish. Back then with, look at this, this is the finish of Bradley Wiggins. Oh my word, he's done it. He's mullered it. 2 seconds under Brent Buckwalter. Bradley Wiggins goes fastest here in stage 1 of the Giro d'Italia. The leader of the Sky team, the British time trial champion. I can't get any more excited, or I'm not going to be able to speak. Well done, sir. Well done. Live pictures then of Ivan Basso. Time he's aiming at now, 10:18. The time to beat Ivan Basso is going all right, but he's not going anywhere near fast enough to beat that time. Well, our apologies to all those people who are complaining about when ad breaks get taken. We're not, as some people claiming, British Eurosport. We're international Eurosport, and British takes us as well. We have a certain number of breaks to get in, and we try and bring you the finish of something when it comes. But you've got to take the break somewhere. And we went back to delayed pictures of Bradley Wiggins. I agree with you. I'd love to see him come in live, but that was the way of it this time around. Ivan Basso. We're near the top. 30th.
Ivan Basso, the rider of Liquigas at Doimo, but we are gonna go on with another important name. He has got an important.
Well, Bradley Wiggins severely gave the time in short time trial terms a right trouncing there. 3 seconds underneath Brent Bookwalter's time, which was fantastic. Interrupted by an ad break. But we did get to see the end of it in delayed pictures. This is Cadel Evans. I think this is a pretty good time, actually, from Evans. We're going to have to wait and see, but I've got a feeling this is quite good. Oh, Stefano Garzelli on the left-hand side. Winner of the Giro d'Italia a long time ago now. But every year he lights up 1 or 2 stages. Very aggressive rider. Right-hand side is Cadel Evans. I'm dying to see what the time is, but he's going. He's got to keep himself up close there or thereabouts. Time he's aiming at is, oh, it's going to be quite close, you know. He's driving towards the line. Is he going to take it away from Wiggins? He's not. But that was close. Third, 2 seconds down. Cadel Evans, good ride by Cadel Evans. I thought for one ghastly moment there he was going to rob it from the clutches of Wiggins. Wiggins fastest, Bookwalter second. And Evans third. Alexander Vinokurov. There's a lot of people saying that Alexander Vinokurov could win this time trial today. I think Bradley Wiggins has something to say about that. You may well have read that in the papers and thought, well, may well have used some of my phraseology now and again about that. Vinokurov, winner of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. There's a lot of people writing in saying, you know, I was not very explicit about my feelings about this man. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you exactly what my feelings about this man were. He always was and always will be an aggressive rider and was always entertaining to watch. But he got caught. He did his time, but he never came back and said sorry, and he never admitted it. That's the thing. That is the difference between himself and other people who come back and said, yes, I have transgressed, I have broken the rules, I've cheated. Some guys have come back, many guys have come back and said, okay, I'm going to try and start again and do it clean. But this man has never once publicly said, I'm really sorry, I cheated badly, I won't do it again. That's the difference. And that's why a man who I had plenty of time for as a rider, I have very little time for now. Doesn't make him any less of a talented athlete. It just, I have very little time for him. But many people saying in the press that he is capable of winning this. In fact, the Italian press marking him up as one of the big favourites for the Giro d'Italia overall. In fact, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, he is second only to Cadel Evans as a favourite, having shown out how strong he was at Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Now, here's a jolly nice chap on the left-hand side. It's Carlos Sastre. Sastre is keeping himself very, very quiet. Builds himself up for Grand Tours in the same way as old-style Grand Tour riders used to. Takes a long time, and year after year he's improved little by little by little. Was at the top of his game. Bradley Wiggins' time of 10:18. Sastre won't challenge us. He'll want to keep up there though. You want to keep within a reasonable time gap. I think if he finishes in the top 30 or 40, Sastre will be happy. We really don't know what sort of form he's in, but he really is a super guy. Very quiet, very understated. Looks after his riders very well. And rides better as a tour goes on. He's one of those few riders who can ride well and better as time goes on through, rides himself into form. Barry Hoban was another. Oh, he's going to be outside of it. That's good. Alexander Vinokurov being touted for some for a victory for this. He's up there in the top 5. He's up to 5 seconds down on Bradley Wiggins, but not to be the Kazakhs day today. If you're just joining us, this is stage 1 of the Giro d'Italia. It's Britain's Bradley Wiggins, Team Sky's leader, who is the fastest man so far, 10:18. Ahead of American Brent Bookwalter of the BMC squad, 2 seconds back on him, and Cadel Evans, another 2 seconds back. Now, Alexander Vinokurov has just come in 4th fastest, and many people were tipping him for a win today. Wiggins really threw the bike around today. You could see it in some of these very, very narrow streets here in Amsterdam. We are in Amsterdam. The rain came down earlier today. It's eased off and stayed off for a little bit. Look, he's only had 10 professional wins in his career. Amazing, isn't it? One of them being the Tour de France. Extraordinary, really. Until he was a real tour contender, he simply hadn't had that many victories. He's one of those guys who's just improving and improving and improving. And if you are just joining us, apologies for the fact that I'm feeling as rough as old dogs, rough as old boots, rough as a dog, whatever. Nasty cold to deal with, so if my voice is a little bit croaky, I'm sorry about that. And my level of excitement at Bradley Wiggins coming over the line couldn't be any greater, but I couldn't actually express it very well. Sorry about that. Sean Kelly joining me on Monday. He is away at the moment. This is William Bonnet. Bonnet could turn in a good time here, you know. Has been in reasonably good form. Alessandro Patacchi. Be fascinating to see the duel tomorrow and the day after between this man here, Alessandro Patacchi, and Andre Greipel, who'll be the last man off today. Greipel, I think, may have the edge in the Low Countries. Patacchi clearly very quick. Back with Carlos Sastre. Well, not taking huge amounts of risks, Sastre. He will ride himself into form if he has the form later on in this year's Giro d'Italia. He did last year, launching a big attack at Vesuvius, you'll remember. What wonderful racing last year in the Giro d'Italia. I hope it'll be just as good for this year. William Bonnet on the right-hand side of your screen for Vivox Bouygues Telecom. And Sastre, winner of the Tour de France, here on the left-hand side of your screen. The email for questions is cycling.eurosport@yahoo.com. It's spokesmen, S-P-O-K-E-S, spokesmen, on the Twitter feed. which is cool if you want to send us in anything. This is Bolka Malema. And this looks like Richie Porte. Now, this could be a good time, you know. We've not seen anything in terms of his times. Oh, it is a great time. Look at this. Richie Porte, 6th fastest. Well, he's just won in the Tour of Romandie. And you know this man can climb as well. He won Baby Giro. And he could certainly do something again in the senior Giro. Now he's coming of age. Sastre has worked so hard on his time trialing position over the last few years. That's a great ride by Richie Porte. Well, Carlos Sastre taking it nice and smoothly, not overstepping himself. Very, very narrow streets, some of these, if you're giving it real big licks, as Bradley Wiggins was, really taking everything in his hands there. Stefano Garzelli. Doesn't look like too bad a time for Garzelli. Last man off, it will be Andre Greipel on the right-hand side. Away he goes, the German. Has had a super early season. The feud with Mark Cavendish aside, he is a terrific rider. That's not a bad ride by Stefano Garzelli. And as I say, at some point he'll enliven the proceedings with an attack somewhere in the mountains that'll be completely pointless and go nowhere. But he might get in a break and he might win a stage or two, who knows. Garzelli, and he'll end up there somewhere. Garzelli finishes 27th, 20 seconds down, not bad. The rain's managed to stay off, even though the weather is getting darker and darker overhead. Well, it's looking good, I have to say, for Bradley Wiggins at the moment, but fingers crossed, it's never over till it's over in this game. This man, I very much doubt, would be taking the time. William Bonney and Bolka Malema, both good time trialists, but not of the same standard as Wiggins, unless they've really on super form. Andre Greipel, well, we shall just see. Bradley Wiggins looking good at the moment, though, to lift the pink jersey. Dario Cataldo. Oh, that's not bad, he's doing well. The quick step rider. And it really is getting very dark again out here. Hopefully the rain holding off at the moment. Well, we don't really care, do we? As now Wiggins is finished, frankly. Bradley Wiggins then is the fastest time. You can see at the bottom, 10:18, first spot. Dario Cataldo rounds the court. He's going to be about 10:28 or 29, maybe a little bit more. Good ride by Cataldo, quick step. Finishes in a time of 10:32, 16th spot. Sastre. Well, he's Interestingly, those bikes, those P4s, you can see that the water bottle down by the bottom. I wonder why they want a water bottle, actually. Something this short. Anyway, there we are. He's got a water bottle in there. Actually made water bottles that were sculpted and fitted into the frame. Almost like a triangle, but unfortunately the UCI deemed them to be aerodynamic. So they couldn't put them in there. Well, for those of you watching back in the UK, looking at Bradley Wiggins' time of 10:18, the director telling me that we will go very quickly from the Giro d'Italia to the tennis, the Jankovic match. We may not get to see the podium. We will see it, of course, tomorrow when we arrive back here live on the Giro d'Italia, but we may not see the podium. We will see the overall standings. Sorry, Kath. Naught I can do about that. Carlos Sastre. Well, that's not such a bad time, you know, for the Spaniard. Got William Bonnet behind him, Volker Malema and Andre Greipel. Sastre, very popular. And I think that's not a bad time for Sastre. Finishes in 40th spot. We said if he came in the top 50, he'd be 30 to 50, he'd be happy. So that's not too bad. Volker Malema. Number 167 for Rabobank. This is Andre Greipel. Greipel, a terrific rider. He's had a super year. And William Bonnet too. Now William Bonnet is going to be could turn in a very good time actually. He's a very good all-round rider. I'm a big fan of this man actually. He's constantly aggressive. He's good in the sprint. From a small group, certainly. He's not too bad from in the big sprint, group either. Strong, good in brakes. Not a bad time trialist. Another good rider. Does seem to be, doesn't it, that French riders are once again in the ascendant. They like racing aggressively. We've been down in the dumps for quite a while. Not a bad time for William Bonnet. Good stuff. 26th fastest. 20 seconds down. It's still Bradley Wiggins' fastest time so far. 10:18. Greipel just grinding away at the pedals there. Bayek, he's got some calves on him, hasn't he? Volker Malema as another rider who's been looked at as a great talent in the last couple of years. Slowly get a bit better every year. Remember, we leave the cycling very shortly after the final standings. the overall standings, and we'll go live to the tennis, the Jankovic match. But we're live again with the Giro d'Italia tomorrow, the second stage. And with this year's Giro d'Italia, still in Holland, the rain beginning to come down again. And Bauke Mollema, once again, a good time for him. The young rider still got a lot to make up. Bradley Wiggins, top rider at the moment. Superb ride by Brent Bookwalter. Really fantastic ride by the American, and a wonderful ride by Cadel Evans as well. He almost got there. Almost got there. Really making himself show as the overall favourite. He's been touted so much as the overall favourite. Bradley Wiggins, well, he's got in the Italian press today, certainly they gave him the sort of 3-star out of 5-star treatment, Wiggins. 5 stars to Cadel Evans, and he's all over the newspapers following his early season performances, and rightly so. Terrific ride again by him today. Andre Greipel, this is a good time, turning a big gear for Greipel. Often the sprinters can do quite well on these short time trials. A little bit too long. Maybe if it was a kilometre or so shorter, a prologue, then Greipel could turn in an even better time, but it's not bad. But he is turning a massive gear, isn't he? Well, be right if we could see him. And there he is. Well, his ongoing feud with Mark Cavendish still to be decided, but I tell you what, it'll be fueled even more, won't it, if this man goes up against Alessandro Petacchi and takes a fistful of victories. That's not a bad ride by Andre Greipel. Last man over the line then. The win goes to Britain's Bradley Wiggins. Fastest man on the day, the British time trial champion, the leader of Team Sky. And you could see it right the way from the time he was preparing on the start ramp. He was absolutely up for it. That's a pleasant face, Andre. The win then goes to Bradley Wiggins. Team Sky get their first Grand Tour victory in stage 1 here in the Giro d'Italia. Bradley Wiggins at a time of 10:18. Brent Bookwalter for BMC second, and Cadel Evans a fine third. It won't be very long before, when the cars start coming through past them, they know they'll only got 30 seconds to go. They've got an advantage of 1:05. Look, there we go. Enough, says Flens. Come and do your work. Got 1 minute of an advantage. Come on, get up there. So Pirazzi is not flavour as the month, as I said, at the moment. Stefano Pirazzi is, as I say, he's a first-year professional, so he's still learning. You've got to learn pretty quick, I have to say. He's not done anything of note so far in his proto career. Not really, anyway. He's not a bad time trialist. He got I think a top 20 in Trentino in the time trial, something like that. He was in the top 20, I'm sure of it, so he's not bad against the clock. But he's not making many friends amongst the Dutch or Germans today. Astana fully massed on one side of the peloton. Very interesting, and I wonder whether they are working for a Gasparotto figure today. Vos, number 208 for Milram with the black longs on at 35 kilometers at the back. It's his turn to take a little turn on the back and have a bit of a break if he can. Rick Flens, the Dutchman, working hard. Looks over his shoulder to see who's coming through to do the next turn on the front Is it a case of Perazzi doesn't want to, or is it a case of Perazzi can't? Doesn't seem to be being dropped at the moment. He pulls right over Rick Flens. There's no doubt, so he leaves no doubt in anybody's mind. Oh, here we go again. Oh. No, that's not so bad. It doesn't. It looks worse than it actually is, doesn't it? Looks worse from a distance. Just about 1 minute is the gap. And once again, Perazzi on the back here. The big question is he not got it in the legs, or is he sandbagging? My feeling would be he probably hasn't got it in the legs. So a good return to the front then for Bradley Wiggins. Cummings talking to Froome. Cummings driving one along now, doing a super job. He's done a great job all day. All the time we've seen him, he has been working hard on the front, patrolling things, policing things, and now he's pulling along at reasonable speed. Gasparotto is doing an awful lot of work here on the front. I'm very surprised. Let's count him out for any tilt at a sprint then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the Sky men in the black and white with blue helmets, blue and black helmets, all massed around the pink jersey of Bradley Wiggins. Vos flicks the elbow for Stefano Perazzi to come through. There's going to be a point very shortly, I think, when Rick Flens and Paul Vos take off, because Perazzi I don't think he's got it in the legs. 1 minute and 4. He's getting up out of the saddle to try and stay there, but at some point they're just going to ride him off. I think, right, that's enough's enough, and it's going to be down to 2 very short. Well, this is good stuff, isn't it, from Sky? Responded well to the threat of Bradley Wiggins being involved in a crash. Be interesting to see who else wants to bring their riders up to the front with 30 kilometers to go. There's a bit of nerves, though, I think. They've certainly responded well, but they look nervous. "33 kilometers to go as Perazzi takes a turn at the front. Been super support all the way today. Cummings doing a huge amount of work on the front here. Well, he is a pursuiter extraordinaire. He has got a super engine. There's many people who believe he's got a as bigger engine as Bradley Wiggins. It's how you use that engine that counts. I think it would be true to say that probably Steve Cummings has found it more difficult to fit into teams than perhaps Bradley has. I think he's a more introverted character in ways. A more self-doubting character. One of the great things about Bradley Wiggins is if he has any doubts about himself, he keeps them to himself or within his family, because he is capable of an incredible amount of self-belief. Everybody has doubts, but he does an amazing job. Paul Vos. Well, where's he summoned up the energy for that from? He's decided to go. Flens looks at Perazzi saying, "Are you going to go after him?" Clearly not. 32 kilometers to go then, and Vos has decided enough's enough. Time to go. He was trying to get Perazzi to work a little harder to keep pulling it along. He was talking to Rick Flens. Maybe he knew that Flens just didn't have it in the legs anymore. Here we go. Looks over his shoulder. Away goes Vos. This is just a quick replay. Now, I hope they show us back to the other two. Here we go. Oh, no. Just missed it. Well, that's a big ask for this German rider. 32 kilometers ago. Flens has come across. We did wonder whether he was going to. It was clear that they were going to get rid of Perazzi fairly shortly. Third year in at Milram for Vos. Interesting to see Aqua Sapone up towards the front. Aqua and Sapone have not got a huge in terms of sprinting. Fieli, maybe Donetti wants to have a go, but the big star for Aqua Sapone, of course, is Stefano Galzelli. Utrecht. FC Utrecht. Apparently, the name Utrecht comes from an amalgam of the Ford, the Latin name for Ford, over the Rhine, and an old Dutch word, I think, that means settlement by. So it got put together and ended up as Utrecht. Well, wouldn't it be for something if this man here could pull off a victory? Running what looks like an 11:21 cassette on the back. And Dutchman Rick Flens. In a bid to stay away from the rest of the peloton. He's gone away. He went across to Porte. Back riding on the front again then. Bradley Wiggins in the pink. And it looks like Liquigas are trying to bring some riders up to the front. Del Antonio will be their best man. Voss has been taken back by the peloton. It's Rick Flens by himself now. So Flens, second in Kona Brussels Kern this year, remember, has super ability. Certainly in difficult conditions, but I don't think he's going to stay away from this mooring lot, do you? It's almost all over for the breakaway. Maschiarelli. That's Francesco Maschiarelli. Look out for him in the mountains, definitely. If the crash hasn't hurt him too much, he won't be liking this very much. Got his brother Andrea Maschiarelli here as well, but he certainly will not be liking this at all. I think he's beginning to suffer a little bit. Just going to hang in there while he can. Yep, definitely head all the time, and Cummings still driving along on the front. 15 seconds from Flens back to the peloton. And frankly, it's been a one-on-one battle, because only man been dragging this whole peloton along. And look at the way they've got it strung out is the incredible engine of Steve Cummings. All the other Sky Riders are behind. I think he's just, literally this moment, maybe just peeled off to let somebody else do it. But that's essentially a one-on-one. There he is. Look, he's slotted back into third spot. It's essentially a one-on-one, because you've got one man up the road and then just one man pulling things along. Androni coming to the front as well. Kaylee Scarponi's team. Lodo will be the man that they're... Lodo, the veteran sprinter, will be looking for a victory if he can. They'll be trying to get him up somewhere towards the front area. Now I'll have to look at the teams who really want to bring to the front. HTC Columbia, they're just going to wait, they're just going to wait, they're just going to wait. They're not going to do anything at the moment. It's far too far out. And then when we get within the last 6 kilometers, you'll see they might put one man up here to do some work, but at the moment it's still the job of Sky to shut down this breakaway. Then other teams will start coming towards the front. The world champion, Cadel Evans, on the far right-hand side of your screen in the rainbow jersey. He's hanging there. Well done for Rick Flens. This, as they say, is the back of the peloton. We'll see Francesco Maschiarelli just hanging in there for grim death. Look at the way he's being pushed back in by the rest of the team. Francesco Maschiarelli and David Moncoutier hanging about at the back. I think Moncoutier quite happy to be there, frankly, because he knows how difficult it could be. Just just has to keep things under control. Moncoutier leading the Cofidis team. He'll be out for something in the mountains. Flens is really going for this, keeping it going. The support cars have long gone past him. Massive crowds out again in Holland. They've really enjoyed their last couple of days. Stuart Dolphin writing in on cycling.sport@yahoo.com saying, watching the stage today, do you think the Contador and the rest of the Tour contenders might get a bit nervous for the start at Rotterdam? The following stages in the Low Countries in the Tour, well, they'll definitely be watching it. I mean, some of the riders for the Tour, people like Alberto Contador and so on, they don't spend too much time riding in these sorts of conditions. And you could bet your bottom dollar that when the teams get together, all the big teams get together to study how they're going to approach the first 2 or 3 stages of the France this year, which again starts in Holland, then they'll be looking at some of this footage. Not necessarily for the same courses, but just for what's going on, things like this. Oh dear, another fall. Dmitry Kozunchuk is caught up middle and just touched a wheel, I think, and has gone down. Kozunchuk has been a rider for Rabobank for quite a while. He'll be used to racing in these sort of conditions. He'll know a little bit about it. It's amazing how easily you can get caught out. That not a problem with road furniture, though. He's a very good rider, Kozunchuk. About 2 or 3 years ago, I think he was in the Giro, the Volta of España. Rode a couple of very good stages in breakers in the mountains. Here's his teammate Rick Flens, 25 kilometers to go, but his day is almost over. But look at the glory he's getting here. Into Utrecht and then around in a loop and then back again. 25 kilometers to go. That's the cathedral. It's actually built Dom Square, which is in the middle here, it's got a massive amount of fortifications, or used to. Originally had earth fortifications, and a lot of them went into forming the bases for all these big buildings. Huge crowds, absolutely enormous. Well, despite all the problems that keep brewing in cycling, you can't say it isn't popular. And I think actually the peloton may well just get their way through this city centre of Utrecht and let that man out there, Rick Flens, have his day of glory. They won't necessarily just chop him down to next to nothing right at this time as Kozunchuk comes to the back. They can still see Rick Flens is up ahead. And they're cutting them down that gap, but even so, it's not a massively fast chase. So that's nice. That's nice, a gentlemanly thing to do. Let the Dutch rider have a little bit of a moment of glory in the Dutch town. Well, a good question that's been popping up is, well, what's going to happen when they have to go back to Italy if there's this ash cloud? Well, the answer is they'll just get in cars and drive there. That's it. Most of the teams, of course, have coaches. They have their coaches for riders and so on. Most riders go on transfers by plane, but if not, they'll just go by car. The mechanics all have to drive, the rest of the trucks have to go, the coaches have to go, so it'll just be done by road. The breakaway then completely absorbed now. Rick Flens is back in the peloton, and it's still Sky at the front with a couple of other teams coming up towards the front. Quick Step and also AG2R. Sky reasserting themselves to the front of this peloton with about 22 kilometers to go. And once again, it looks like Cummings who's on the front, doing a fine today. Well, he certainly can't do that day after day after day. 23 kilometers going in exact terms. quick step, throwing a man up towards the front. Maybe Valtervalent feels that he's in good shape today in order to do something. Thank you very much for all your wishes, good wishes. The cold seems to be getting a little bit better. Still running a bit of a temperature. Was last night, still am today. But thank you very much, all your remedies and so on. And Sean will be joining us tomorrow in the commentary box for the final stage here in the Low Countries before we head back to Italy for the team time. Well, I think Sky have ridden very well today. I really do. They've done a super job in controlling things early on. They've kept the tie when they saw things were getting difficult. They waited, got Bradley Wiggins back up into the front, no panic. Just got the men up there. A little bit nervous for a while. I think they've settled it down a little bit. But they know that this sort of run-in, these last few kilometers are going to be absolutely vital. Keep everybody out of trouble. The man who's really suffering at the moment is Francesco Maschiarelli. Involved in that crash, the little climber. Just look at this. That's a terrific shot. They've all got to get through this. Amazing, isn't it? That sort of 160-odd men can get through there so quickly. Those of you who didn't catch the, or can't catch the email address whenever I say it, it's cycling.sport@yahoo.com. Heyman, Gioni, Cummings in that order on the front. Astana on the right-hand side have been very, very prevalent up towards the front, just keeping things close together at the front of the peloton. Andrei Grifko, their big overall contender, one would have to say, and they've been very, very prominent at the front of this peloton. Interesting indeed. Now Liquigas in the lime green on the far left-hand side, bringing a whole raft of men up towards the front. Not just about it's not just about getting your sprinters in place. That'll be HTC Columbia's job. You watch them a little later on. It's about keeping the pace high enough to keep favourites out of trouble. Liquigas want to keep, of course they want to get Dall'Antonio up there if they can. There's no Daniele Benati here. Benati not able to come to the out of injury actually. I think it's a shoulder injury, I may be wrong. He has an injury and he's not here at the Giro d'Italia, which is a big blow for him and a huge blow for Liquigas, considering that they've already lost Franco Pelazzotti for all the wrong reasons. So two of their big star names out of the Giro d'Italia, one through injury, one through having to explain himself, and a dodgy blood profile, and immediately suspended by Liquigas. So Liquigas really want to try and get something out of this. Pippo Pozzato in the Italian champions jersey coming up towards the front for Katusha. Katusha have Robbie McEwen. Watch out for McEwen, because it could be a finish for him today. Well, it's a bit bleak with Bebox, Telecom and some of the other guys. I think that's Pizzati at the back actually. Stano, who was in the breakaway. Utrecht welcoming the Giro d'Italia game. Barry Edwards writing in saying, do you know how many teams are using oval chain rings despite besides the Cervélo team? Well, pretty much all the Cervélo team use them, except for Ineos Questa. Of course, Rota are a sponsor of Cervélo. They're one of the partners, shall we say, the development partners. So Rota rings are standard for the elliptical rings. They are designed to get that will throw you over the dead spot, shall we say. in pedaling, so they are standard equipment. There's only one rider in the whole squad that doesn't ride them, and that's Inu Cuesta, who just basically looked at them and smiled and said, I'm too old to even try. 40 years of age now, Inu Cuesta. And there was a point they weren't quite sure. They were having trouble with some of the early cranks, and remember, it's a development team, Cervélo, so this is what it's all about, testing things to the limit. They went back to conventional round rings for a while, and then went back to rotor rings. They're on the rotor Q rings now, as they're called, once again. And certainly some of the Futon Cervélo riders are riding Q rings. We saw them last year or last week, should we say, in the Tour of Mendy. So some of those are riding Q rings from rotor. There are other manufacturers out there, and if you look at the time trial like that Bradley Wiggins had yesterday, it certainly has an elliptical chain ring on it. Some use them, some don't. Certainly some of the Americans used to use them. And Magnus Backstedt was telling you how good he found them when he was using them. Sky still with the prominent roll here, just keeping that pace very high. It's a long day in the saddle, isn't it, for these guys? They've been out there doing a lot of this work. They're riding very hard indeed. It's the first time we've been able to see them doing so as Cummings hits the front again. Heyman just behind him. Getting back in, I think, is Sutton trying to get back in. Just looks so comfortable, doesn't he? Steve Cummings, with Matthew Heyman right behind him. Still a little bit too early for the big sprinters teams to start jostling around at the front. I think this is going to be, unless they really, I mean, the pace is not slow now, but unless they really motor hard, I think that this is going to be a very scrappy finish. There's going to be all sorts of action going on in the last 2 kilometers as everybody tries to get to the front. On the left-hand side, it's Liquigas. Well, right-hand side as well. Liquigas in the lime green. Del Antonio is the man they'll want to go up for the sprints, but at the moment it's keeping Ivan Basso out of trouble. Ivan Basso still their big, well, is their only big draw now as far as GC is concerned, because as we say, Palazzotti is not here. On the left-hand side, behind Liquigas, far side of your screen, you can see, here they come now, HTC Columbia for the first time. It's 15 kilometers out, and I think they realize this is going to be a bit scrappy if they don't start moving up. They don't start trying to get people out of trouble. Surprised that we haven't seen Evans up towards the front yet. We will, I'm sure, see Cadel Evans move further towards the front, and you'll see the same with some of the other big favorites. If we can, we'll see Vladimir Carpets. If he can move somewhere closer to the front, it's just a little bit too dangerous. We've seen what sort of problems can happen in the Low Countries. We've seen a lot of riders go down. The pink jersey himself has already gone down, which is to make sure that all your star riders are out of trouble, out of the wind, and out of any situation that could cause them problems in the last 5 kilometers. We're live here on the Giro d'Italia stage 2. We're under 15 kilometers to go. And having had one heart-stopping moment when the pink jersey of Bradley Wiggins was involved in a crash and paced back to the front by Sky, they have magnificently controlled the race. Sounds as though I'm going heavy on Sky. I'm not really. It's just this is the first time we've seen in this super team that's got a bought-in super amount of riders and have a super budget, and so to speak. This has been touted so much. It's the first time we've seen them act as a unit in a Grand Tour. And I've got to say, it's been pretty impressive. They've done a very good job today. As I say, one heart-stopping moment with Bradley Wiggins hitting the deck, but they managed to get it back together. They got him back up into the group and up towards the front. Perhaps by the fact it slowed down a little bit, but even so, they did their job. They've got to the front, they've kept everything under control, and now it's the turn of the sprinters' teams to try and few things over. Pippo Pozzato in the middle, number 191. You can see the Italian flag on his rump there. Pozzato keeping out of trouble. I mean, he could do something today. He knows the finish is not necessarily a flat-out sprinter's finish. We've seen Quick-Step bring a man to the front. Well, Cervélo maybe in that sort of situation. Ooh, dear. This is going to string things out completely now, as they try and all get around that bend, but they'd rather be upright and around the bend than anything else. Look at CSF Colnago, all at the back now. They had one man in the break, and they're really beginning to suffer now. The man in the breakaway out for a long time. They were all out for a long time. Very twisting, very turning. Things might get really strung out. Now, Enrico Gasparotto for Astana is putting the pressure on the front. Lamprey, we've not mentioned Lamprey at all at the moment, but we really should, because Alessandro Patacchi will be wearing the number 122 jersey. At the back there with 129 is Alessandro Spezialetzi. And Spezialetzi is looking over his shoulder for something. Is he got a rider still waiting? Well, clearly there's a problem, because both Spezialetzi and it looks like Matteo Bono are waiting for something. Looking over the shoulder. It's far too close to the finish for anything other than to be waiting for a run. Here we go. It's been caught out on that corner. That's what it is, for sure. Rider caught out on the corner and not being able to get up back to the front. CSF Colnago fighting to stay on. And who is the rider that's been distanced? We've got Bono and Spezialetzi, and there's another rider up ahead of them, but I don't see hide nor hair of Alessandro Patacchi at the moment. He, of course, is another of the big challenges for today. It's Patacchi, Greipel. For CSF Colnago, it could have been Sasha Modolo, but we've not seen him at all. He'll have to do it all by himself. He won't have anybody else around to help him, because they're all at the back. Maybe Mandri for AG2R Le Mondial. Under the 10 kilometers to go, Bannon, for these trailing riders fighting to get back on to the group. At the back, it's Matteo Bono, and Alessandro Spezialetzi is the man from Lamprey at the front of this group, in the pink and the blue, trying to regain the contact with the group up ahead. The American Murphy is the man in the middle. Well, there's three of them now trying to get back on. The third of the Lamprey Russ is Marco Marzano, in the center there. And now we're seeing some of these big favorites going to the front, trying to keep out of the way. Vladimir Karpets right in the middle of your shot there with the flowing locks. Although he's got rid of his beard pretty much these days, but there we are. He's keeping himself well out of trouble. We still yet to see the rainbow jersey of Cadel Evans keeping himself out of any potential falls by coming somewhere to the front. He'll be around somewhere, but we just haven't seen him. On the far left of your screen, HTC Columbia starting to move up and around. There are a couple of other riders from Lamprey in that group, and I am wondering whether Patacchi is up there. Is this Spezialetzi still trying to get on? Well, that is then who they were waiting for. Damiano Cunego suffering. It had to be a rider that they were waiting for. Had three Lamprey riders back there, and Spezialetzi was looking over his shoulder, and the big name caught out, Damiano Cunego. Now, did he have a ball, or was he just caught out of that last corner, or has he had a mechanical? We simply don't know. No such problems for Gilberto Simoni, his team, but he's got 3 men back. Marco Mazzano, Alessandro Spezialetzi, and Mathieu Bono were all hanging back a little bit and trying desperately to wait for him. Would have to be a big rider. Now, it could have either been Patak, or it could have been Cunego, or it could have been Simoni. I think they leave Simoni to his own devices, frankly. Liquigas with Ivan Basso in that group, moving up. There's lots of nerves. Oh, just as I said it, lots of nerves, and that's a huge one, and it's way outside the 3 kilometer mark. Slap back middle there, still upright, but caught up is Daniel Lloyd from the Cervélo test team. You can see him standing up. You can just see by the way he looks. Filippo Pozzato's on the floor. Filippo Pozzato there, right in the middle of your shot. The Italian champion caught up in that break. Oh, my word. It's a huge one. Rabobank, Stephen Kruiswijk is the other rider caught up in that one. Steve Cummings, having done so much work, he'd slipped a little bit, and he's caught up in this error as Capelli from Futon Cervélo, I can see. And Pozzato is clearly rattled. Big trouble then in the middle of the pack is Juan Jose Serpa, trying to make sure his front wheel is in okay. The Colombian rider, and Pozzato is hurt. He's going to get back on his bike, but he's 6.4 kilometers out. It's not as if he's inside the 3 kilometers, and he's badly injured, I think. He's having real problems. Is Pozzato. He's got 1-2 rider back here. Will they wait for him? No, they probably won't, is the answer. Might keep one rider with him, but at 6 kilometers out as we join Jose Serpa here. They probably won't wait anybody for him. No, Pozzato. Capelli gets on his way for Futon Cervélo, we can see. There's an AG2R rider here waiting for a bike change. Can't see who it is. Coupon, maybe. And Pozzato gets back his bike, and he'll be left all by himself now. Look how far down the road he is. Another big nervous crash. There is Basso. And there's nothing Pozzato can do except just sit there and get back to the finish line as best he can. Well, it's part of the everyday fabric of being a bike rider, but it's never nice. Capelli is being pulled back by a couple of other riders. He's going to try and pace him back up a little bit. This is split to pieces now with that big crash. It's not. It's just a racing incident. They're not attacking at the front. They're just continuing to set pace. And as soon as that crash happens, it's the sort of gentleman's agreement. You don't attack when there's a crash, but if you're going and it's a race situation and there's a crash, no way of stopping to slow down here. We're inside the last 10 kilometers. That's the way of the world, unfortunately. The pink jersey of Bradley Wiggins, safe and out of trouble at the moment, but it's Liquigas driving this along at the moment. Keeping Ivan Basso out of trouble. Basso, who is 23 seconds down on the general classification. And more than that. Oh, more crashes. Oh, no. Well, now who's gone down? Oh, that's Spezialetzi. Alessandro Spezialetzi, 129, had worked so hard to get people back to the front. Now, who is the other rider who's gone down here? Is it Mathieu Bono? I think it is. It is Bono, I think, on the ground, along with Spezialetzi. And that's, I think it's Mihailovic from the Liquigas squad. And what a finish we've had. It really has been all over the place. It's very, very, very tight and very, very difficult. There's an 8-second gap already between the two of them. It's Bodnar, the Polish rider from Liquigas. who's going to have to work his own way in, and you could just see how tight some of the finish is here. They do have a habit of throwing the tight ones in. There'll be more people complaining tonight, I'm sure, but it's the way of the world. Well, thankfully, very few serious injuries so far. Well, chasing in at the moment, it's Vis and Rasch, I can see that. And they're all together. So trying so hard to get people back to the front. Maybe it's Marcel Vis who they're working for to get to the front, but I would suspect that Carlos Sastre has been caught out within this second group, and all the Cervélo riders are trying to chase back on. They're all trying to get him back up there. Haven't seen him yet. There he is, right at the back there, 71, just ahead of the AG2R Le Mondial rider. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Cervélo riders trying to make contact with that group of favourites here as they come over the bridge. Well, where is the pink jersey? That is the big question as well. Just looking down for the pink jersey, making sure that that is at least safe, or at least he's upright. Damiano Cuo's team have suffered 2 losses already, 2.7 kilometers to go. And I don't see, there is the pink jersey. And the pink jersey is still chasing on as well by the look of it with another group. At the moment it looks as though the Liquigas squad are really strung things out now for Del Antonio. But amazingly, it looks as if, and this is the picture group coming in, they're in the second group chasing on behind the lead group, and it looks to me as though somebody else who isn't Sky member is going to take on this pink jersey tonight. Basso is in that front group. Where are they? There they are up the road. And it's Liquigas driving it along at the moment. Amazingly, it looks to me as though Garmin Transitions have managed to get their riders back up towards the front. Garmin Transitions working for Tyler Farrar, wearing number 113. If you see him, Julian Dean could turn in a good finish as well. Stringing out now. They've got so little time to bring this little gap back. And Sky working like, they were working like Trojans, but other teams have got to do the same. Bradley Wiggins in the pink jersey, the Maglia Rosa, just tucked in there. Behind Gustav Eric Larsson, looks by his style. And Wiggins just has to wait for his teammates and others to try and bring this back if they can, and I don't think they're going to. 1.6 kilometers. They're going to be winding it up like crazy at the front to try and get sprinters teams up there. Julian Dean, I can see, for Garmin Transitions. Who is going to take this on now? Working for Tyler Farrar. Our Garmin Transitions. He is in the middle of the shot. He's in the middle of that group, Farrar. He's in a very good place, Farrar, to do something. Under the 1 kilometer to go banner. Well, the man to look out for Lampre will be Alessandro Patacchi. Patacchi, is he there? Yes, he is. He's on the far right-hand side, close to the barriers. He's a little boxed in at the moment. Farrar's in the better position. Where is Andre Greipel? They're looking around for him. Sasha Moda's up there. They're looking behind our HTC Columbia to see where Greipel is. Greipel's a little boxed in. He's behind Patacchi, but he's lying in about 10th spot. Now he's trying to come and get through. Sky going up on the right-hand side. Is it Gregory Henderson? And Sky pushing hard. Sky go for a long one. Ferrari's in a very good position at the moment. He's lying 3rd. Here's the nasty bend. They come around it. Greipel still has an awful lot of work to do. Where is Alessandro Patacchi? He looks to be nowhere at the moment. Now coming to the front. It's a real drive to the line, and Farrar's going to take it. Tyler Farrar for Garmin Transitions. I think it's Farrar who gets to the line first. It certainly looked that way, and he thinks it is, and I'm sure it is. Wonderful ride by him, considering he's been on the deck. He got to the front. That is a real big win for Tyler Farrar. This is the second group on the road, containing the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey. And pushing towards the line now. bringing it home, trying to get as little time lost as possible. De Maya Rosa comes in. Ooh, some angry faces there. Pink jersey of Bradley Wiggins caught up in all those difficult situations. Francisca Rabon over the line in this group. Who else is there? Well, who isn't there is more to the point. One of the big favourites, certainly. Ivan Basso, I'm sure, was up in that front group. What a bitter disappointment for Bradley Wiggins. Here we go, another 1 kilometre to go banner, as you can see. And Garmin were in absolutely the perfect position here. Quick step leading at this point. Doing all the work is Macho Tozzato. Tozzato is quite good at this sort of thing, but he knows what's going on. He's looking over his shoulder for his man, Alessandro Patacchi, wearing the number 122. He's on the left-hand side of the little lamprey group. And boxed in, he has to check his pace at that point, and Farah has leapt onto the wheel of the Sky Rider. Greipel completely out of it. He's lying about 10th back at this point, and he's really doesn't seem to be contesting the sprint at all. Seems to be well out of sorts. I think it's Vincenzo Nibali who's the rider really against Matt Goss. Sorry, that looks like Matt. Yes, here's Matt Goss from HTC Columbia, who takes the second spot. I think he realised Greipel just didn't have it in the legs today, or was nowhere to be seen, and he's gone for that one at the very last minute. You have to wonder how much closer he'd have got if he hadn't been waiting for Andre Greipel. But a super win by Tyler Farah, the American. That's good. When was the last time you saw an American sprint victory in a major tour? Good work. Tyler Farah takes it. Nothing wrong with the glasses there. Matt Goss, the Australian for HTC Columbia, taking second spot. And I think Del Antonio got the third spot for Liquigas. We will get confirmation very shortly, but nothing in the bag for this man here, Alessandro Patacchi. Didn't look anywhere close to it. No sound of the interview, unfortunately. He didn't look anywhere close to it. But the body language says it all, doesn't it? Nope, not for me today. It's not going to happen for me today. And no showing by Andre Greipel either. Fabio Sabatini was the rider from Liquigas. Farah gets the first spot. Then Goss, Sabatini, Greipel coming in 4th, Patacchi 5th, Sutton 6th. He went for a very long one, Chris Sutton, and a little bit too long, although he certainly had the speed, as you can see. But how will this pan out to the overall standings? This is the really interesting thing. Look back, there is Sutton ahead of everybody. Went for a really long one and simply couldn't sustain it, but a valiant effort. Fabio Sabatini comes over that. I wonder, you know, whether Evans, I'm pretty certain Evans will be in pink, you know, because he was only 2 seconds off the pink jersey of Bradley Wiggins after stage 1, and he is in this group that are coming home now. Cadel Evans, we saw him on the run up to the line. He's not contesting the sprint, but he's so close. 2012 and 8 seconds for overall classification, but he's so close in this following group that I think he's possibly taken over the pink jersey today. Robbie McEwen. Well, I thought he might do a little better than he has. He was up there, but I thought it might have been a finish that suited McEwen. Clearly McEwen's better sprinting days behind him, but he's capable in a situation like that, a scrappy finish, to take something in the end. Here we go then, confirmation. Cadel Evans takes over the pink jersey, 1 second ahead of Tyler Farah, 3 seconds ahead of Alexander Vinokurov, who clearly must have been in that group as well, and that's who Astana keep out of trouble. The win today to American sprinter Tyler Farah makes the big breakthrough. Huge crowds once again, and riders still coming in. Tomorrow, stage 3, Amsterdam to Middelburg, 224 kilometers. Expect more of the same, folks. 2:10 CET. 1410 CET. Sean will be with me in the box. We'll be taking you for another fascinating day in the Giro d'Italia. Thanks for all the messages of support for the horrible sore throat and stuff. It's getting a bit better. Lay off the booze, get lots of sleep. That's what they say. Tyler Farrett takes the win ahead of Matt Goss and Fabio Sabatini. With 25 kilometers to go, they go under the banner. I can see Stefano Garzelli there in the red and white with the helmet decorated. This is Marco Pinotti doing such a good job once again for HTC Columbia. The rest, the second group, come through the 25 kilometers to go mark. Well, it looks like they're desperately trying to get back on. They will get there. We'll take a short break. Maybe they're there by the time we get back. Welcome back with live shots with Alessandro Petacchi finally coming to the front. He's doing a bit of work here on this chasing group to get back. He's beginning to panic. We're in the last 25 kilometers and they still haven't made contact with the next group on the road. The front group being driven along by Sky and HTC Columbia. And then there's a gap back to a second group on the road, and Petacchi's group is even further back than that. I think that's the Petacchi group there. We're just seeing it go through the middle of our shot, actually. Difficult to tell from this high up. But it comes to something, Sean, when Petacchi's got to do the driving on the front here.
Yes, well, he knows that the teammates are just not strong enough to do it, and he was taking it easy for a moment, and that's what you've got to do as a sprinter, because if you have to make the effort here, but he knows if he's going to get back in at all, he has to do and contribute to the pace setting here, the pulling on the front, because that gap there, it's not a big gap, but still they're going so fast out front, it's difficult to get back. But now he's picking up riders, but the riders are picking up are going to be no advantage. They're not able to do anything here. The only hope up front that it does calm down a little bit. We see a number of kilometers ago it was really going fast. Now it's slowed down again as we see the group have bunched up more in the front, so this is an opportunity and maybe a moment for Petacchi where he can get back into the main front bunch.
Yeah, what's the betting though, Sean, that as soon as Petacchi starts to bridge that gap, make contact, that somebody on the front from Sky or HTC ups the pace again? Just as they get within reaching distance, will they attack him again?
Well, I think they will be aware of that Petacchi is the 15-20 seconds off the rear of the main part of the bunch, the front part of the bunch, and the team's pushing on. And I think the effort by the team from Sky and from Columbia, they knew that Petacchi had a mechanical problem, so they just kept it going. And that is the way it works. If the race is opened up and the race is going, well, then you continue on. But if a rider punctures and it's going along at a relatively calm rate, well, then the understanding is you cannot attack. But in the situation has been going for many hours today, so they've just kept it going and maybe upped a little bit just to make it that little bit more difficult for Petacchi to get back in. And they would be hoping that he will not make it, because he is certainly one of the sprinters they would prefer not to have in the sprint, for example with the Columbia team and some of the other teams also.
Columbia will be working for Andre Kuiper. We've not seen him at all, actually. We've not seen him up towards the front, and we've certainly not seen maybe Greg Henderson or Chris Sutton up to the front for Sky. But somebody will be lurking there, there's no doubt about it. Sky are dragging this along. Maybe they want the yellow jersey, the pink jersey back, who knows? Vinokurov moving up towards the front of this group, trying to stay out of trouble. And Cadel Evans, wearing the pink today, has worn it before, and there he is on the right-hand side of your screen when he was riding for Mapei in his opening Giro d'Italia. Having switched from mountain bikes, he wore the pink jersey until such times at the end, I think it was the penultimate day actually, of the Giro d'Italia, where he just went bang. 2 or 3 days before the end anyway, and he just couldn't hang on to it as a young rider. It was a spectacular start to his career. And he couldn't hang on to it, unfortunately. Now the wind is now a headwind for the moment, just for this little bit. And it looks to me, Sean, as though that group is not going to get back onto here at the moment. They seem to be getting further apart rather than getting closer together.
Yes, well, it's still very active up front. They were at a moment there where we see it was very much grouped together on the fronts, but when you see it getting pulled out once again, well then that tells us the pace has been upped. Pataki, I think the last time check there, they're giving 25 seconds, so as we can see that it's still around that, and you know, that is quite a big gap to close down. Considering the way they're riding up front, it's going to be a difficult one, because we're getting closer to the finish, and the kilometres to get up there, you know, there's not a lot left in this stage.
No, certainly not. 20 kilometres to go. Well, they've done over 200 kilometres at an average of nearly 45 kilometres an hour. Michele Scarponi now getting onto the front. There's a definite feeling that they want to kill off a few of the favourites here if they possibly can. Looks to me as though Pataki's decided it's not going to happen for him. Looks as though he's sat up to me, Sean.
Yes, it looks very much the case with a teammate there on the front. They seem to be, you know, just decided that they're not going to make it into this group, and they have been making a big effort, because they were with Cunego trying to get him back in for a long time, 25-30 kilometers if not more. They had to make a very big effort, and you know, immediately just as they were making contact, Pataki had the mechanical problem, a flat tire, and they had to start doing it all over again. And you know, it's understandable they're paying the price and just not able to bridge that final 25 seconds.
No, not at all. Well, the question then remains, and this is Leonardo Bertognoli. The question then is, who is going to be able to take the sprint today, Sean? Because we really don't know who's in that front group. Surely Andre Greipel must be there. We haven't seen him, and we haven't seen Greg Henderson or Chris Sutton from Sky either. We haven't seen Alberto Lodo, but there are a certain number of Androni riders there. Christian van der Velde retires then. My sincerest and deepest apologies that we've not been able to bring you the shots of that. They came just as we went on the break and switched between British Eurosport and International joining us, and Christian van der Velde with, I would suggest, a broken collarbone. It looked like that, Sean, didn't it?
Yes, it's
terrible timing.
Yes, well, you know, the timing is a disaster, you know, just as he goes into this Giro, hoping to, you know, to get into shape, maybe use it as a real preparation for the Tour de France, and to go out at this moment is going to, you know, knock him out for a number of weeks now, and the Tour de France is going to be very difficult to start, and even if he does get back to be in shape to contest for a, you know, place in the general classement, very, very difficult, hard to see it, and you know, it is a difficult pill to swallow for him, because at this time of year, this is the time of year where his, you know, main objectives are coming up, and you know, a crash like that, a disastrous one, especially when you break a collarbone, you know that it's going to be a minimum of 3 weeks off the bike, and then you have to start building it up again. So you know, it's a bad day for the Garmin team, but that is bike racing, and you know, the risk you take here, especially in those conditions. You know, as we said yesterday, with the amount of crashes, it's amazing that we did not see more injuries. But you know, today Van der Velde being one of the victims.
And 2 years in a row as well in the Giro d'Italia. Mind you, he made it back last year to be in pretty good shape to help Bradley Wiggins as the super domestique, but another big fight on his hands now to get back. There is Alexander Vinokurov and Wiggins, in fact. Wiggins has managed to keep himself out of trouble today, and he's got plenty of riders around him. Cadel Evans all by himself, though. There's no BMC riders with him at all, Sean, is there? There's nobody there to help protect him. I mean, when you look at, say, Wiggins, for example, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 4 or 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 other Sky riders in this group. I mean, they may not all be working for Wiggins, but they're all up there. But no, I can't see any other BMC riders in this group at all. No, well, it's great to have a number of riders just out there in front of you, and you know, for the situation with Wiggins, you know, it gives you that bit of comfort, because if you have a mechanical problem, you can call them, and you know, you can get a wheel if you get a flat tire, and then you have the manpower to get you back in there. In Cadel Evans' case, if he have a mechanical problem, we haven't seen any of the riders from the BMC. Well, that, you know, could be a very, very
very dangerous situation. Looking at the other teams as well, we see Basso looks very comfortable there in the last 20-30 kilometres. He has a number of teammates with him as well, and you know that you can relax a bit more. You're at ease because you can see a number of teammates around you in the case that you would need them because of a mechanical problem.
It's very, very nervous today. Well, they're running into the final closing stages of stage 3 today into Middelburg. We have another commercial break to take. Hopefully nothing will happen while we're away. Welcome back to Live Shots here. You can see Dario Cioni on the front for Sky. They're pushing things along. They really want the victory today. They want to exert their authority. I understand we've managed to get some. Here is the crash. Look, we've managed to get some pictures now. That is Christian van der Velde on the floor, picking himself up, holding onto his right shoulder. And that is the end of Christian van der Velde's race. Now, the rider all locked up here and trying to sort of sort himself out. Number 61 is Marzio Bruzigin. Bruzigin too having problems, and we haven't heard of him retiring, but we do know that it's the end of the road for Christian van der Velde. Scarponi working his way up towards the front. There is Ivan Basso. And we have caught sight of the figure, the stocky figure of Andre Greipel on the front here as well. Sorry for the picture breakup as we go back to the group of Domenico Pozzovivo. Seriously not trying that hard. But that's Moncoutier, isn't it? Just gone through the shot there. I think David Moncoutier has gone through the shot as well. And that could very well be why the Cofidis boys were working so hard in that group. This is a group containing Codol, Massimo Codol on the front. I should think that Francisco Masciarelli is in there as well, because although we haven't seen him, there are too many Acqua Sapone riders just sitting there for any other reason than to be bringing him back, because it is very much the case that he is a favourite for the mountains if he can actually make it to the finish. Well, riding high in the water, but it can show you just how deep the shelf is off the coast there. That's a pretty big ship. Lammergenberg. And pushing it along now are Liquigas. Sabatini had a good run yesterday. Fabio Sabatini made 3rd spot in the sprint yesterday. I'm interested to see how the Androni squad are on the front doing some work as well now and again. Looks like Bodnar is pushing on the front hip. Maybe Agnoli as well. But certainly it could be the case, Sean, that Alberto Lodo is... Oh, another crash. Another crash. This is always going to be the case. Is this the front group? It looks as though it must be, because there's, what, 5 or 6 Sky riders in here. Who's on the ground? It's one of the Caisse d'Epargne riders who's hit the deck really heavily indeed. And looks as though they're not getting up very easily. I think it's Pablo Lastras, who's in that group. Oh, my word. 1, 2, 3, 4 riders down there. Dario Cioni is in the front of that group. Wiggins, that isn't Wiggins, that's Lastras, obviously. I'm sure I saw Wiggins, and I'm sure I saw Cioni. And a very, very difficult time once again. It is. Wiggins. It's Wiggins. Trying to get the chain back on his bicycle is Bradley Wiggins. Well, he was involved in a crash yesterday. He was riding right towards the front. Matt Heyman is with him. The Australian. And they're in real problems. Dario Cioni was also on the deck there, and Wiggins has taken a big tumble on the left-hand shoulder. Oh, disaster for Sky, and look how tight this was. And they just ran straight off the road, I'm sure of it. And almost into where the crowd were. Evans, it looks like Evans has been caught up in this as well. Not at the deck, but he's been distanced. Oh, this is so dramatic today. It could have been just the wind that caused this, but now there's a mixture of wind and all these tight turns, and it's been made a very, very difficult stage indeed. And now the pink jersey, the Maglia Rosa of Cadel Evans, is being distanced. He's going to have to work to get back. Sky are waiting frantically to see if Bradley Wiggins will be able to get back on the pace. There's two Sky riders waiting, and Evans is left by himself to chase back on. This is a disaster for Wiggins.
Yes, a disaster for Wiggins, and Evans also, as we mentioned, you know, no teammate with him, and we can see now that there is not a teammate in that first group, because if they were, he would be immediately called back. But riders everywhere, and you know, it's just such a difficult final, as we can see here. You know, there's turns all the time, and so dangerous here. But Evans is doing a good job, just making it back into the rear end of the front group.
My word! That was a bit of daredevil cornering by Cadel Evans, just trying to get rid. Every second counts now for the pink jersey. He cannot be left behind there within the last 15 kilometers, and he's going to get back on. And he's done it all by himself. Chapeau. Well, still some, well, at least one Sky jersey up in this front group. But what a disaster for Bradley Wiggins. That must have happened right at the front, Sean.
Well, it must have happened just in front of him, because there were so many of the Sky riders together. I reckon, you know, somebody went down in front of them, or the Sky rider went down and just took a number of his teammates out. And you know, you can see there, it's, you know, it's some of the corners are very, very tight, and if you just, you know, hit them with a little bit too much speed, well, then you get caught out.
Well, this is just looking back at what these roads are like. This is horrible. The pace is so high here. Is this a dangerous? I mean, is it completely out of order to have a Grand Tour on these sort of roads?
Yes, I think we will, you know, be hearing more about the stages in the past days, and certainly today again, as we can see, you know, in the final 10 kilometers, it's so tight, islands everywhere, speed ramps. You know, we've talked about it many times. The street furniture here is so dangerous, and it's, you know, just really pushing it too much. And I think there will be, you know, an objection from the teams, and certainly from the riders, because it's so dangerous today. It's not, you know, it's not possible to race here at such a high rate without having, you know, major accidents. And we can see, you know, this main group has just blown to pieces because of the crash, and riders just everywhere. And Evans, you know, doing a great job. Luckily, he did not, you know, have any mechanical problem, or did not, you know, really go down. I think he was just caught behind the crash, and, you know, the gap he had to close down wasn't that great. And luckily for him, he was able to do it all on his own.
Evans gets back into that group, which is the second group on the road. There is the front group. Well, you've got to say, I mean, a lot of people think this is the most picturesque race of all, and the most exciting race of all, the Giro d'Italia. But come on, guys, you've got to get your house in order. You can't keep having these finishes. The same when you're in Italy. Went to Sicily a couple in the past, and it was as dangerous as anything. Now we've come to Holland, and it's as dangerous as anything. What are you playing at? This is a Grand Tour. It's meant to be the second most important race in the world. Simply not on. And the pace has gone out of everything here, but I'm not surprised. And Evans moving up to the front of this second group here. He was very lucky indeed by the look of it. Wiggins not so lucky, and went down with a number of riders. Instead of Cioni was there, Heyman was there, looking a little bit distraught. I'm not quite knowing what to do at the moment. A lot of riders. Sastre is in this group, I can see. Carlos Sastre in the black of the Cervélo TestTeam. Ted King is the rider who's with him, the American, number 74. And they've got a big gap to get back with under 8 kilometers to go. Now, whether they'll even bother, I don't know. I don't know who's in the front here. Maybe Alexander Vinokurov is still in this front group. Who knows? Fighting to get back on now in this second. Well, this is not even the second group, is it? As it is the second group with the pink jersey, the leader's jersey on the shoulders of Cadel Evans. He looks to be unscathed from that problem. This is Damiano Cunego. Well, he's had a bit of an up and down day today, hasn't he? He's been fighting his way back. He was pretty lucky to miss that crash as well. Well, what a day we have seen here in stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia. I wouldn't be at all surprised if, Sean, that pink jersey goes off the shoulders of Cadel Evans today, because it appears to me as though Alexander Vinokurov is not in that group, and it would mean that he's in the front group somewhere, as Daniel Lloyd pushes up the man from Bouygues Telecom back into the line, saying, no, you keep going there. My job is to keep looking after Sastre, and they're trying to fight their way back in that group on the road, the second group on the road. But I don't see the the face of Alexander Vinokurov in the second group. I would imagine he's in the first group, Sean, which means if they keep this sort of gap, he'll be in. He'll probably be in the big jersey tonight.
Yes, it looks like that. Vinokurov is out front. He has been up the front, you know, all the time in the last 50 kilometres, and we see a teammate of him just coming off the front there, and Pinotti takes it up from the Columbia team, and that is a sign that Vinokurov is in the front group, and they are, you know, pushing it on from the Astana team. They know they're in with a possibility of getting the jersey, and they're going to, you know, try and do that. As we can see here, Vinokurov has just gone he's talking to his director sportif at the moment. He's, you know, getting information on the situation back where Evans is at the moment.
Basso is up in that group as well, keeping out of trouble.
25 seconds for Evans.
25 seconds down to the Evans group. Yep. Cadel Evans started the morning in pink with Tyler Farrar. Second at just 1 second down. Alexander Vinokurov third at 3 seconds. We haven't seen Richie Porte at all today, the young Tasmanian. Keeping a good look out for him in fourth spot at 3 seconds. Further down, Andre Greipel, of course, is at 13 seconds. He would get a 20-second bonus, of course, if he won the stage today. I wonder how close he'll be back to the pink jersey today. That is if he is maintains himself in the right position. 5.7 kilometers to go. Here's the second group on the road, trying to shut down the gap. There's a lot of work. There's Alexander Vinokurov there. There's Stefano Garzelli. Now, is that Richie Porte just on the outside of it? There's Vinokurov in this front group. Don't see Greipel in there, but I think he must be in there. We've not seen any shots of Greipel so far, but I've got a feeling he must be in the front group. Evans, he's going in by himself now. Well, he has to. This is going to really tax into his reserves. Oh, my word, this is incredible stuff today. Javier Tondo is the man trying to get on his wheel for the Cervélo TestTeam with under 5 kilometers to go. Now, we know that there's bonuses of 20 points for the winner. And it's by no means certain that that it's safe for Cadel Evans at the moment. He's just got to keep chasing. 5 kilometers then for Evans. Tondo goes with him. 20, 12 and 8 points for the first 3 men over the line. Well, I bet Cadel Evans didn't fancy doing this today. He kept himself so much out of trouble. He'd done really well, Sean, by himself. And now, look, it's 22 seconds is the gap we've got from Race Radio at the moment. What a dreadful day in the end for Cadel Evans.
Yes, and I suppose it's not as bad as some of the other big favourites. When you look at Wiggins, he's going to lose a lot of time because he had a mechanical problem. The chain was dropped, and you know, he was losing a lot of time to get back there. But again, it is, you know, very disappointing when you do a very good job for 90% of the stage, and then there's a crash and you get involved in it. And you know, Evans, I thought he was getting back into the first group when we see the first shot.
Yes, so did I, yeah.
But actually, you know, the group was split, and the crash, it just blew the group apart everywhere, and there was little groups. And although the gap is coming down, I think it's going to be difficult as we just go inside the 4 kilometers to go, and it's still over the 20 seconds for Evans to close down.
That's a massive, massive task. He has to enlist help to help him, but he's on the front doing it all by himself. Javier Tondo is the Cervélo TestTeam rider just behind him, and the man from pushing on now from Milram is Marcus Fortin by the look of it. Tondo, again, he's another outside favourite. He doesn't want to be left behind. 18 seconds is the gap. Evans must be praying, hoping against hope that somebody's going to give him a hand. Up in the front group, Greipel is going to be in there because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the HTC Columbia team here pushing it along. Surely it looks as if Greipel must be in with a chance of a sprint victory today. We've heard of Race Radio, there's another crash. But where it is, we don't know yet. Race Radio saying, shoot, another crash here. Well, we're inside the last, nearly inside the last 3 kilometers, but the crash, if it has happened, has been outside the last 3 kilometers, so they're going to lose every bit of time that they actually physically lose. Inside the last 3 kilometers then for HTC Columbia, driving it on the front, on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, the group containing Cadel Evans. It's Marcus Fortin driving it along at the front. They have 15, 16, 17 seconds of a gap at the moment. It was 22. Let's wait till they come under that banner. It's going out. The gap is going out. Oh, it's a nightmare for Cadel Evans. He's just got to pray that he can limit the loss now as HTC Columbia drive it on, and still the finish here is tight and twisting. 31 is the gap. Surely now, Sean, that Andre Greipel must mop up this one.
Well, certainly they have, you know, they've taken the race in their hands for a long time now within the Columbia team, and you know, Greipel must be here. Of course, they have, you know, other sprinters as well. So there is quite a few of the Columbia riders, and they have put in the effort, and you know, they have to try and get a stage victory out of it, because the amount of work they have put in here, and especially the teammates, they have put in a huge amount of work over the last 50-60 kilometers.
The world champion and big jersey wearer Cadel Evans now on the front again, driving it along. He's certainly strong, because Javier Tondo behind is just suffering trying to stay in there at the moment. Still pushing hard is HTC Columbia. Greipel sitting at the back of that little train, the last of the white jerseys. Even so, Liquigas are still up here. We must assume Fabio Sabatini is still in with a shout here, or maybe Dall'Antonio. 2 Liquigas jerseys up towards the front. Not a single BMC jersey to help out for the world champion Evans. Drilling this one now. HTC, they're still twisting and turning on this run into Middelburg. The crowds have been enormous. They're 1.2 kilometers from the end now. All the way along, the crowds have been incredibly impressive. Marcel Zieberg now takes over at the front. Zieberg himself lying at well, lying pretty close to the top of the general classification as they go under the 1 kilometer to go banner. Zieberg starts to drive it. Still behind, Greipel waits. And is that Pataki in there? Nope. The HTC Columbia train working hard to keep it under control at the moment. Surely Lampre are going to try and get something out of this with Danielo Hondo sitting in the back there. And now they're really going to wind up there. Everybody's going to be on the wheel to see if they can get through. Round the last bends. Once again, they've just got to watch it. So dangerous with everybody so nervous. Into the last 250 meters. Oh, and Greipel's been caught out completely. It's not going to happen. Greipel's been totally caught out.
Brown.
Looks like Graham Brown. No, he's not going to get it either. Was that Walter Weyland who came over the line first? Or was that Mauro Facci? I am absolutely not. But Andre Greipel totally caught out again in the wrong place. And they couldn't deliver him to the line. Graham Brown from Rabobank had to go, but I'm afraid it was Quickstep who destroyed the party. Well, what a finish. And it's just completely blown to pieces today. Now the pink jersey of Cadel Evans fighting to maintain some sort of hold on the top 5 or 10 places. Evans has taken a huge hit to his stores of energy today. He did so much work, 47 seconds. I think he's done well to limit it to that.
Yes, he's done a good job, because you know, very little help there, and I think that the riders with him, everybody was really under pressure, suffering a lot, and you know, he's limited his losses quite well.
Well, it's Walter Weyland, I'm sure, who took the win today. Greipel is fighting. Look, you can see he's fighting to get onto the wheel of his lead-out man, and it's not going to happen for him. He takes this last corner. And when the jump comes, Walter Weyland is coming up the inside, and Greipel is completely distanced. Looks over his shoulder. Graham Brown coming very fast around the outside for Rabobank, but Weyland for Quick-Step is riding away. Brown coming at him, but not fast enough. And in the end, Walter Weyland takes a good win. Graham Brown has to throw his bike towards the line to fend off Milram here. But what on earth has happened to Andre Greipel? It's not happening for him. A complete loss of form at exactly the time when he needed it, Sean.
Yes, and you know, the sprint, it was a very, very scrappy sprint, and the run-in, it was a horrible run-in there once again, because it was turning all the time, and it's, you know, there was so much changing on the front, you know, not a nice sprint at all. And I think Greipel, he just lost the wheel there a little bit, and if you do that, if you take a bike and a half from your teammate, well, then it's game over.
Looks like Forster. Looks like Forster, who's got the third spot there, was coming very fast. Danielo Hondo gets fifth. But a great win for Walter Weyland. Do you know, he does that arms up in the air when he's even riding along the shoulder side of Oudenaarde. Forster gets third, Hondo gets fifth. Brilliant finish by Adam Blythe. In all the excitement, I almost forgot it was going to be him. Adam Blythe, the Briton, for Omega Pharma, gets a fifth spot, and in a scrappy sprint. That is extraordinary. Brilliant ride by young Adam Blythe in his first Grand Tour. Well, we think that the pink jersey is going to be on the shoulders of Alexander Vinokurov tonight, but 47 seconds of a gap down to Cadel Evans. What do you think, Sean? I mean, he did pretty well to contain his losses, considering he was caught out there, but what a disaster for Bradley Wiggins.
Yes, a major disaster for Wiggins, because he's going to lose a lot of time. And the pink jersey of Cadel Evans, yes, you know, did a very good job, rode a perfect race today, considering the situation. You know, a very nervous race, very windy conditions, not the perfect conditions for him, but you know, he was doing very well. But when you get a crash like that so close to finish, it's just a matter of limiting your losses. And 47 seconds for Evans, and you know, I think it's going to be, you know, a very, very important. It's going to be a very interesting situation at the end of this day, because you know, we're going to see Wiggins now coming in, losing a lot of time, and as there is a lot of other favourites as well. We see Brusik in. We haven't seen him where exactly is finishing. So some of the big favourites losing, you know, quite a lot of time, and in the first 3 days of the race, it's a difficult one for them.
Absolutely, we saw a huge Sky train coming in towards the finish. It has to be with Wiggins there. Richie Porte is second overall to Alexander Vinokurov. Miller at 1 second, and Nibali at 5, Seberg at 7, Greipel at 10. The pink jersey goes to Alexander Vinokurov, but the win goes to Walter Weyland today. This is Walter Weyland on the right-hand side. For Quick-Step, Graham Brown chucks his bike at the line, just beating Robert Forster. Fabulous ride by Adam Blythe. Almost impossible to see that. There he is.
They went Dutch for 3 days, but now it's the Italian job, as the Giro provides a whole swathe of challenges, from time trials to sprints to roller coaster rides. The Giro d'Italia, Stage 4, Savigliano to Cuneo, Wednesday at 14:30, live on Eurosport.
Welcome back then. Still waiting for some of the peloton to come in. We saw a massive group of Sky riders, about 3 minutes down, coming in. Has to be the Bradley Wiggins group. The news then is that the win goes to Walter Weyland in a very, very scrappy sprint ahead of Graham Brown. The two of them being real scrappers and managing to survive. This must be Marshall Brusigin's group, is it not? And we can't see him, 61, but he will be there, I'm sure. He being involved in a crash that took out Christian van der Velde today in some very, very difficult windy conditions. But you have to say, and we were discussing it again off air, this is a dreadful last 15 or 20 kilometres, and whoever thought this up should be leaving the organisation fairly shortly. Really, every year it's been the same for the last 4 or 5 years. We get dreadfully difficult runs in. There's no point beating around the bush. There's been some real problems. There's Vasily Kirienka, and we can see Marshall Bruggen at the back here. He's lost a massive, whopping 8 minutes today, thanks to a crash. Alessandro Petacchi comes over the line in this group as well. That's not quite so surprising. He chased hard to get back on. I've got a feeling that Moncoutier is in this group as well, because nearly every Cofidis rider is there. All the CSF Colnago riders are there also, which means that almost definitely Domenico Pozzovivo is in this group as well. 8 minutes down. Well, I haven't beaten around the bush, saying it's a bit of a nightmare run, and it really should have done better. What do you think, Sean? I mean, if you were a team manager, what would your thoughts be tonight about this run-in?
Well, I think the time managers will not be happy at all with the situation. The riders more so again, because the dangers, and we see that they're running okay in the earlier parts of the stage. There is sections where the road may be a little bit tight going through the villages and that, but in the final 10-15 kilometres you have to have a pretty straight run in, and we see there from the time that the Sky Riders and Wiggins crashed, it was very, very technical and very dangerous, very tight corners. And imagine if it had been raining today, that run-in with, everybody would have been going down. There would have been bodies on every corner. So I think we will be hearing a little bit more from the Director of Sport East, because the riders will be really not happy with the situation tonight. It makes good TV. We can see where we're finishing in the towns and that, but you have to think of the athletes also.
Sure, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I may be wrong, but it appears to me, and somebody may correct me on this, you may correct me on this, Sean, I don't know, but it appears to me that Vuelta managed to get away with beautiful little villages and running through villages and get narrow cobbled streets and interesting television shots, but they generally end up in finishes that that aren't as dangerous as the Giro. Am I wrong, or am I just imagining it, or is that the case?
Well, I think if you have stages like this later on the race, into the third week, when the race is settled, a lot of the riders are 40 minutes down. There's a breakaway. There's a great possibility that a breakaway will go on to the finish, and then it's a much safer situation on running as we have today. A group of 5-7 riders going into a final like that. But when you have a big group of riders, a peloton of riders of 100 plus riders coming in, well, then it's really, really dangerous. And on the first days you have to always know, and if you're involved in race organisation, the race is going to be very, very nervous, and in that situation, the first 3 or 4 days of the race, certainly you cannot afford to have a finish like we've had today and in the past days.
No, not at all. Congratulations to Adam Blythe in his debut Grand Tour, taking a 4th spot. Terrific result. It's Walter Wayland on the right for Quick Step in the blue and white. In the orange on the left is Graham Brown, coming back to some sort of form. Robert Forster on the far right hand side in the Milram sky blue kit. Then Adam Blythe for Omega Pharma Lotto in the white jersey there. He comes past Daniel Hondo of Lampre in the pink and blue. A great result. I saw Linus Gerdemann up there as well, so he wasn't far off the pace. Alexander Vinokurov kept himself at the front and out of trouble, takes over the pink jersey of leader here in the Giro d'Italia, with Richie Porte on, I think, the same time as him, actually, in 2nd spot. The young rider from Tasmania who took the time trial in the Tour of Romandy, and we know can climb as well, or has some sort of climbing form, has managed to keep himself so far out of trouble that he's equal on time to Alexander Vinokurov. Therefore, it comes down to how high he's been placed every day in the finish, and that is some achievement for Richie Porte, and good luck to him. Omega Pharma Lotto go off the start ramp. This is Androni Tecco-Giovanni. It's a good time. Oh, good time for it to go black as well. Right there. Oh, good time. 2028 by the Androni team. Take the fastest at the checkpoint, and they've still got all their men. That's good. Michele Scarponi, he's not that far down on the GC either. Back to Team Sky, and Bradley Wiggins, super style that he has. A lot of these riders have a lovely style to watch. Steve Cummings, he's just passed there, another great time trialist. They're looking quite well disciplined and quite smart. Sean Yates is the director sportive, as we know. He spoke to us the other day on the telephone. Chris Froome has plenty of time trialing experience as well. I think they could turn in a very fast time today, this outfit, Sean.
Yes, they will be out there with the with the idea of winning this one, and that's what, they will be really motivated to prove that they are, the strongest team in the team time trial. And there's, between the stronger teams, as I mentioned, Team HTC Columbia, they're really going to be going for it with Garmin. I think they are the three teams, and as we've often talked about, I think there's a little bit of competition there who is the better one in the team trial, and today Sky are going to be really going for this one and to try and take the victory. Unfortunately for Sutton, the puncture is going to take a little bit from the team, because losing a man in the just very early stages, it's not a good thing. You're going to miss that, but for Sutton himself it's going to be difficult, because to lose your contact there, you lose a lot of time on your own, and he could have a problem for the time limit later on today. He has to really ride hard to stay in there.
He does, yeah. Nasty weather moving in again as they wheel their way towards Cuneo to make sure they can stay upright. It's not so good for some of these teams that get called out a little bit later on. Fastest ever team time trial in the Giro d'Italia? Well, our good friend Richard Gorman, ex of CSC, tells us as it was CSC in 2006. He said it was an average of 56.86 kilometers an hour. Well, apparently the records say it was Thursday, the 11th of May 2006, into Cremona. 56.859 kilometers an hour. So just overselling yourself there, I think, a little bit. On the old CSC thing, but that is the fastest ever team time trial. 5 men driving for the line. Garzelli is the last man here for Aqua Sapone. 2 dropping off, and these 5 will be making it to the line together. They have to. And still that good time of Futon Cervélo stands. BMC have put up a very good time with just 6 men. Maybe that was part of the plan, because 2 dropped off very early. Maybe those 2 were out there to really give it death for the first 5 or 6 kilometers and get everybody up to speed and keep them out of trouble. Maybe they weren't going through and doing too many turns behind. They were just letting those 2 do all the pulling. There's various ways you could approach this. You always take a risk, though, because if you drop any men after that, it can be a problem. So Aqua and Sapone coming up to finish. As Sean was saying, it's about limiting your losses, this particular one. Garzelli looks a class above the rest on a bike, doesn't he? They could have done with being all in one line, really. 118 down, and a lot of time lost for Garzelli as well. 29.17. Aqua and Sapone. Just to talk us through possible tactics then, Sean. I mean, you can either go out with all your men here, can't you, and use them all at the same time, or you can do, as I suspect that, possibly you suspect, I don't know whether BMC have done, and they had 2 men who gave an absolute tremendous amount of effort for the first 5 or 6 kilometers, and then after that they drop off, and you finish with 6 men. That's the sort of thing that there's various ways you could approach this.
Yes, there is various ways and various tactics to use here. If you've got a team like Futon Cervélo, you can take the risk and just go into the final kilometres with five men, because if you lose a one, well, really for the general classement they have the big favourite, but you cannot afford to do that with the likes of BMC. You have to keep a man in reserve all the time. in the last 2-3 kilometres if you have a mechanical problem or a crash, just to cover yourself, and you're guaranteed you have your 5 men there. So you know, that is a little bit of a risk you can take when you're only trying to maybe do a good performance in the team time till today, and you haven't got a man for the general classement. And then yes, use the riders out on the road. That is something again you can you know, calculate all of that and get them to drop off at a number of kilometres before the finish, after 50% of the stage, for example. But again, you cannot lose them too early, because there's always the concern that they have to get inside the time limit. So that is something you have to, you know, keep in mind. So there is it's not about just putting 9 men out there and getting to ride down the road as fast as possible. There's quite a bit of tactic in team trial and quite a bit of planning, and they would have been out there this morning. That's something the teams would have, you know, they'd have run the course today or yesterday, because they have been there, and you get to know the circuit, and then you work your tactic and you calculate a tactic from that.
As I pointed out, the fastest ever team time trial in the Giro d'Italia was back in 2006 by CSC. 36.56 it was. It was a 35-kilometre time trial, so longer than this one, and was significantly faster than the fastest time we've set so far from BMC. Other than that, in sort of comparable lengths, really you have to go back a fair way. You have to go back to let me think, 1989 from Villafranca Terrena to Messina. 37 dead was the time recorded over 32 kilometres by Ariostia, which is an average speed of about 51.8 kilometres an hour. Other than that, they've either been significantly shorter or significantly longer. The longest team time trial in recent years was in 1983 to Mantova, run by Bianchi. It was 70 kilometres in length. That's quite a distance for a team time trial. The shortest one, well, back in 1981 to Bibloni from Lignano, won by Hoenved. 17:33 over 15 kilometres only. That was a nice short one. This is Bouygues Telecom, and again another team who've dropped off any excess riders, so to speak, in the last kilometre or so. Just goes to show how much about saving your energy is, if you possibly can. Yuri Trofimov is the man right at the back. Fokler still in this 5. And not a bad time, actually, for B-Box Bouygues Telecom. They started off hard. They worked very hard indeed to get that and set up a good intermediate time. And now Thomas Fokler takes over the lead at the front. And the technique really for coming up to the line, if they possibly can, if you've got it in the legs at all, is to spread out across the road, just like you would see in a team pursuit. Remember, it's the 5th man over that counts for time. That's not bad, actually. I think that's a pretty good performance, Sean. 58 seconds down.
Yes, it's not a bad performance. I think from a team that would not be specialists in this discipline, and also I don't think the motivation would be 100%, because you know, they're going to go out there today. There's no chance of them winning the team time. The riders know that within their heart and soul, and they haven't got a general classement man, really a big favourite there. So you know, that always takes a little bit from your performance. So looking at that time, I think it's a nice performance from the Bouygues Telecom.
Are you a team time trial fan? I mean, not when you were riding. I mean, to look at as a spectator, or a television viewer. Are you a fan of them, or are you not a fan of them?
Well, I think it's nice, the team time trial. Again, you know, the distance is very important. That is not too long, and where a team can lose a lot of time in a big long team time trial, in a big long tour.
Garmin transitions off the ramp then. David Miller on the far left-hand side of your screen. He could really do some real damage to the favourites in the big jersey competition today. He is in a position to take over the leader's jersey. They're a very, very good unit, our Garmin transitions. David Miller. They've lost Christian van der Velde, of course, a good time trialist in his own right. Tyler Farrar, Jack Bobridge, who's suffering a little bit, I think, in his transition from the under-23s up to the senior standards. We haven't seen him really pushing at all, but he's a good time trialist, as we know. Dean, Fisher, Daniel Martin, Meyer, and Svein Toft also in here. They have the ability to do well. The rain is coming down on Sky, though. BMC is the time to beat at the moment. BMC's 37.58 is the time everybody's aiming at. There'll be sure to be some of these teams. This one amongst them, Sky, along with Katusha, I would suggest, Garmin, maybe Rabobank, and Liquigas, and of course HTC Columbia and Saxo Bank, who can all have a go at this. Astana, of course, will be motivated because they have the big jersey already. David Miller's possibilities of taking over the big jersey today?
Well, I think there's a very good possibility he could take the jersey. It is unfortunate they lost Van der Velde yesterday, on Monday, and he would be a very important one. And when you look down at the team, they have some very good time trialists. Daniel Martin, of course, he's the one who's really going to dig deep today to contribute there to the effort over that distance. And of course, you know, Dan Martin, time trialing and team time trialing, certainly he would not be a lover of that, but you have to get stuck in there and, you know, try and do as much as possible, because this is a great opportunity for David Miller to take the race leader's jersey for a number of days.
How much will these guys have been drilled into practicing together for this, Sean? Knowing that there's a vital team time trial coming up, and the team time trial has been reintroduced to the Tour de France as well. How do they train for this?
Well, I think you know, the team Garmin, they have been training. That's I think there's a guarantee there. They have been doing some training. They always seem to do it, as you know, as the other teams as well. HTC Columbia, Sky, they would be the specialists in that, and I presume they have, you know, they have trained a bit at the training camps when they get on their team time trial, or their time trial bike, sorry. They would do some work in team time trial, and we remember last year as well. I think it was Cervélo. They did very early in the season, the training camps. They did some team time trial work, and you know, you can be guaranteed that the other teams have been doing it as well this year.
Nasty weather coming down again as another cloudburst comes over the top of the course. It's really drenching Team Sky at the moment. The advantage, I guess, is the long straight roads. What's the real disadvantage of rain right like that on a straight road? Well, we'll have to see. This is AG2R Le Mondial coming up to finish. Again, nowhere near the time of BMC. Shows how good that time was. Very, very good selection of riders finishing for BMC, including, of course, Cadel Evans. We saw Brent Bookwalter was in there, Jeff Lauder was in there. So finally a team around him who could time trial after the disaster of the Tour de France and that team time trial last year. Once again, AG2R Le Mondial would not be super happy with team time trials. They're okay at them. They're not bad, they're not great either. And certainly not a great time for them today, and any hopes they have of keeping somebody up towards the front of the GC will be gone. Although I've got a feeling they're just looking out for somebody like Jean Gadret to be able to come and or Herbert Dupont to try and take a stage win, if possible. Over the line then. Oh, that went quickly. 39.27, I thought that said. Fastest for Team Sky, 19.31, and this is against a backdrop of very heavy rain now. Very nasty conditions, Sean, and I mean, even in these sort of roads, it's more difficult when they're going through towns like this. On a straight road, does it knock a huge amount off your time? Yes,
I think it will, you know, take a little bit of their time, because you know, a lot of water on the road, and you know, there's a lot of splash there, so it's difficult for you to hold the wheel tightly.
Rabobank starting off on their time trial. They should do reasonably well. All very big, strong men, and they should turn in a reasonable time. sprinting back on there. Tyler Farrar trying to get in there. We're going to have to take a short break, but Sky fastest at the intermediate checkpoint. Having lost Chris Sutton early on with a puncture, once they'd managed to get another wheel in, he certainly couldn't get back. And they've lost another man. We're not at all sure who it is because we've only been looking down from the helicopter shots at the moment. This will be an interesting time because they were very fast at the intermediate checkpoint, were Androni Giovanni. Michele Scarponi at the front, driving things along for them. Still in the group, I can see Jose Serpa. And Bertogliati is the Swiss national champion. Bertogliati, should I say, is the Swiss national champion at time trial. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men left. And they were going very well early on. But they have dropped back. So BMC, once again, the more they go along, it shows how well they've been driving towards the line with 6 men. And from starting pretty quick, Sean, they've dropped quite a few seconds here.
Yes, and you know, that is also part of the calculation, part of the tactic, to get it right over the full distance, not to, you know, start suffering in the final 5-10 kilometers, and that's where you can lose time. And some teams start a bit too fast and have just trouble keeping it up and going all the way to the finish, where other teams just can, you know, get it all the way through. And that's all about knowing each other, and also, you know, the director sportive, I suppose, knowing his riders.
Yeah, well, Gianni Savio may have well miscalculated this time around. What, 39.01 for the Androni Giovanni team. And they had been going very well at the first intermediate checkpoint. In fact, they posted a time of 20.28, which was faster than BMC Racing. It was the fastest intermediate checkpoint until Sky came along with almost a minute faster, 19.31. Pharma Lotto out in the rain, and Milram on the ramp. That's Paul Voss, by the way, in the green on the left-hand screen. In the green jersey, he is the mountains classification holder at the moment. When I say mountains, there's a couple of bridges they went over in Holland, and that counts. Nasty weather for Omega Pharma Lotto coming up for their intermediate checkpoint. Let's, as Milram go off on the left-hand side, 28 seconds down for Omega Pharma Lotto. So a good time, but still 28 seconds down on Sky. Wiggins at the back here in the British Time Trial Champions skin suit. They are very well disciplined in a nice, steady line. They look to be travelling though, Sean, here. Going well.
Yes, they are going well. You can see the line very good here. Some of the other teams may be a little bit more scrappy, so you know, they are, a lot of them specialists, as we can see here. The Garmin team, some of the riders having problems, having difficulty already, and it depends on what section of the road you're on as well. As you look at the Garmin here, they're not in the line, the perfect line, as we see the Sky team. But again, you know, it depends on what sort of the circuit they're on.
They look a bit scrappy at the moment. It could be that this is very exposed and the wind is playing about with them. But look at the rain. It's absolutely hammering down as Fischer gets dropped from the back of this group. And fighting to get back on to the rear wheel. Here is Jack Bobridge. This has been a real baptism of fire for Bobridge. He's not been doing particularly well at all. He lost a huge amount of time over the last 3 days, and I think he was suffering a little bit in other stage races he's been using to prepare for this. It's a big step up, even for a rider of this super talented Jack Bobridge, to come from under 23s to this.
Yes, it is. The question is he in good shape, or is he a little bit off his best at the moment? But you know, on Monday he finished over 14 minutes down, so
sorry to interrupt
difficult
you, Sean.
time.
Sorry to interrupt you just for just a minute, but it looks like we lost another rider here from Sky. They were already down to 7. Does that make 6 now? We'll just have to do the counting in a minute. We did see 7 before, there must be 6 now for them. This is Lampere. Daniele Hondo is the man on the front. Driving in towards the line. Then Alessandro Patacchi in second spot in this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 7 of them? 37.58 is the fastest time so far, set by BMC. Cunego is 1, 2, 3, 4th down here. Just looking over the top of the rider in front of him, making sure he's out of trouble. There's Gilberto Simoni in this group. I think he's the last man in the line, actually. Just looking back over the shoulder to see, yes, he is. Simoni just hanging in there, really, more than anything else. That looks as though he's having a lot of trouble there. There he is, number 123. He's just having to fight to stay there. Gilberto Simoni, good on him. Cunego is 1, 2, 3 back. Got to make sure they get to the line together, and I think that's probably hurt Gilberto Simoni. Good on him, they're there. He's old enough and wise enough to know he has to hang in there. 38.20, good time. Lampre, second fastest at 22 points as Alessandro Patacchi leads them over the line to finish. And I think it looked like a world of pain on the face of Gilberto Simoni. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is indeed now down to 6 men for Sky. Well, they just got to hope nothing goes wrong now, Sean. I mean, what would it be? It would be a disaster if they had another puncture.
Yes, well, of course they have, you know, they have that buffer of 6 men, but you know, it gets a little bit dangerous if you have a problem, a mechanical problem. You lose another one because there is quite a number of kilometres to go for the Sky team. But you know, it's again, it's a calculation. You know, you just have to take the risk sometimes and just use everybody to the 100% and get them to contribute as much as possible, and then they just peel off and come in on their own in this. In the final, certainly in the final 50% of the time trial.
Still looking in a good line though. They've come out of that thunderstorm and onto dry roads again. They'll be pleased about that.
And I think it's balancing up actually for the riders who started earlier. We were talking about the BMC Racing Team of Cadel Evans, and you know, starting very early. It could be a disadvantage, it could be an advantage, but he had, I think, wet roads at the start, a bit more than, for example, Sky had. But Sky are getting out here on the road now, so it is balancing up. The other thing for Sky is, you know, losing their rider very early, losing Sutton. It balances well with Garm because they are a man down in Van de Velde, so things are balancing out quite well, I think, for the teams overall.
This can often be the case that one team gets a major, or some teams get a major advantage over others, but as you can see, Sky have, well, would have been able to see, be on the picture break up there in bright sunshine again. And now it's Garmin Transitions who are having to fight their way through this dreadful thunderstorm. Swain Tuft is the rider at the front in the red and white. Not that you can see the colours very much. Here come Katusha. Now we missed out on the intermediate checkpoint time for Katusha as Vladimir Karpets gets to the front and drives that massive gear to bring them home. They've dropped 2 men off the back, and there goes another one by the look of it. So they're down to their last 5. Pushing towards the line. The time they're aiming at was 37.58, and look at the time they're clocking. 800 meters to go. And surely they're going to take the fastest time so far as Karpets moves over. Juan Horach is the last man of that 4 to go through. Pipo Bozzato second in the line at the moment. Karpets is keen to keep up somewhere near the front. Whoop, got to be careful on the corner there. And this is going to be a super time for Katusha. They're going to take the fastest time away from BMC Racing for sure. And it's such a shame we missed the intermediate checkpoint for them, because we did say when they came off the ramp that they have a lot to gain. And they have very good riders in here, especially some of the Russians are very good at time trying. Klimov and the like. And the best part of a minute taken out of BMC Racing's time by Katusha. Good ride. by the Italian-based, Russian-backed outfit. 37.04. They go fastest. Well, that is quite a gap that they put into everybody else. Pozzato in the white-rimmed eye shades leads them home with Juan Rach on his shoulder. They really are flying, because the Sky team have gone down from 9 to 8, 8 to 7, 7 to 6, and their sixth man is beginning to suffer on the back. He's having to really, really hang on. Back on course in the dreadful thunderstorm with Rabobank all together at the moment. And looking good, actually. Looking in good shape. This is back with Garmin transition. Sven Toft at the back. Number 119, the Canadian time trial champion. Just ahead of him is Daniel Martin, I think. Looks like his style. And clearly not quite as comfortable, or working a little bit harder than perhaps some of the other riders, because he's got his hands wide on the bars there, not in the aero position. He's just trying to get some extra leverage out of it. This is another team that could do well today. Liquigas. They are quite a good team time trial outfit. But that's a super time by Katusha, Sean.
Yes, it is a very good time, and unfortunately we did not get the intermediate time, but I think it's a very, very fast time. And it gives an idea as well. I think that one of the teams we can really say they should be, up there in that top 4 or 5 riders at the end of the team time trial today. And when you see over a minute and a half of an advantage over over foot on Cervélo, which was a very good time when we see them coming in earlier on. I think it is a good performance, and I think it's an indicator of of what sort of time the big teams will be doing. I think they will be around that 37 minutes will be the winning time. Who can go much under that? That is the question.
The big question indeed. There's a lot of people writing in on Spokesmen, the Twitter feed, saying, please stop tempting fate. Keep mentioning Sky having problems or losing a man or this or that or terrible weather. I can't help it. It's my job. I can't not talk about it. This is Garmin transitions coming up to log their intermediate time, and it's going to be well off the fastest time, as another team who could really challenge. Off the ramp go HTC Columbia. Now HTC Columbia, we were discussing this before we started our live broadcast here on Eurosport, have 3 men possibly who could be well up in the general classification today if they turn in a really good time, and they are a very disciplined unit, and normally you would expect them to turn in a good team time trial.
Yes, well, they are a team who can and have proved that they can do well in team time trial, and they have the riders, they have the big, strong, powerful riders, and this sort of circuit, it is perfect for those style of riders. So the team Columbia, and with 3 men up there very much in the general classement, if they put in a very good performance, they could take over the race leadership today.
Look at this, they're down to 5 men, and look at the time, 35.45. 5 men left in this group, and they're absolutely giving it everything they possibly can. Gregory Henderson gritting his teeth at the front. Cummings just sitting in behind Bradley Wiggins, and they look like they've given everything to this today. Dario Cioni is the last man in this group. 37.04 is Team Katusha's fastest time. They're in the bright sunshine now, and this is hurting so much for Team Sky. I don't think I've seen this group of men looking so battered and hurt before. It's the first time we've really seen them look like this. Absolute pain. And still they push hard towards the line. They're going to destroy the time of Katusha. Sean was saying about the 37 mark. They're going to be well underneath that. Sky come across to clock the fastest time inside Team Katusha's time. 36.50 for Sky. That hurt, Sean. You could see it on every single man's face there. They were giving it max 110% effort. Look at that.
Yes, well, time trialing, individual time trial and team time trial more, because you really have to push it. And you know, if there's a rider a little bit stronger than you, well, then you suffer that bit more. And they were really, you know, giving it everything, and have been all the way through. But the final kilometers, you really, you know, have to just finish totally empty.
Well, that's shown that they really are well up there amongst the very, very best in the world, Team Sky. And they came to this, their first Grand Tour, remember? And nobody really knew. Everybody thought they'd be pretty good, but nobody really knew whether they would be a well-disciplined unit by the time they got here. It hasn't taken quite a big step for a first-year team. Mind you, Cervélo did it, but you never know. Back with Garmin transitions, who look to be a little bit more organised now. I can only think that perhaps the wind was playing a part. Cam Meyer is the rider in the American time trial, the Australian time trial champions skin suit. So used to seeing the American time trial champion David Zabrisky's suit. In the past years. This is back with Liquigas again. We haven't seen HTC Columbia out on the road. We will very shortly. We saw them going off the ramp, but Sean, we were discussing it beforehand. You were pointing out that, you know, HTC Columbia, they could do really well today with a number of riders they've got up towards the front. Yes,
well, they have, you know, something. They're a specialist team in team time trialing. They have the extra carrot out there today with 3 men, and Marcel Seeberg is only at 7 seconds of the general classement in 5th position, and then it goes down to Greipel and Goss. So, you know, and they're only at 10 seconds. So, you know, they're going to be saying, well, if we can, you know, put up a good performance, which they are capable of doing, and that is the extra motivation boost that you have the opportunity or the possibility to take the race leader's jersey, and they're really going to go for it. And we will see once again they will finish on the limit, as we see the Sky riders doing.
Fastest time then so far, Sky. Katusha at 14, but BMC at 1:08. Well, we don't have a... Michael Barry is driving at the line there. We don't have the possibility of Bradley Wiggins up there for the general classification at the moment, having lost 4.5 minutes yesterday. But certainly Cadel Evans will be a little worried at the sort of time gaps that Sky and BMC have shown. 1:08 between the two of them. You must be sitting there, Sean, thinking, I would be if I was him, sitting there thinking, well, if Sky can do 1:08 faster than us, there must be other teams with GC riders close to me who could turn in the time between those two, and I might lose even more seconds.
Yes, and I think Evans will be looking at the real big favourites. Vinokurov, for example, Nibali, Basso, those riders, you know, maybe Sastre, another rider who will be very much for the general classement, and that's what Cadel Evans is going to be looking at. He's not going to be thinking of, you know, the stage victory today. It's really the time he's going to lose against the big favourites, and of course, with Wiggins losing a lot of time already, he's a little bit further off for the general classement. It looks very, very difficult for him to do anything now. So, you know, it's not a problem for Evans that the Sky team take the victory today, not as it would have been if Wiggins was really up there in the general classement, and it would be more of a concern certainly for Evans.
Wouldn't it have been though if Wiggins had been right up there, if he'd have managed to avoid the accidents that he had on, especially on day 3, more than day 2 actually. I mean, Evans had taken the pink jersey over, but Wiggins was close or close-ish, but that crash on the way into Middelburg has robbed him of a huge amount of time. But wouldn't it have been a different scenario altogether if in fact Wiggins and the Sky team were to take victory today with that sort of gap over Cadel Evans? Interesting. This is the Omega Pharma Lotto squad. Roberto Damiani is the director sportif here on the Giro d'Italia. They managed to keep themselves all together, and this is a pretty good time. They were looking good at the intermediate time check. slightly surprising, Sean. Actually, I wouldn't have expected them to turn in such a good time with all of them there.
Well, again, you know, they're a team who can ride very strong. They have some very good, strong riders there. Pan flat circuit, it does rise up a bit, but it's really, you know, very, very gradual. And they would be the riders that could do that. And the thing is, if you know the motivation, if they're really motivated, I think they could bring performance. And this performance is a nice one from the Omega Pharma team.
It certainly is. Third fastest they're going to go, quite comfortably at 33 seconds. 37.23 for Omega Pharma Lotto. Right, we'll take a short break while we can. Back soon.
CD cycling shoes.
That's come down. As Astana have to start off, they will not be liking coming off this ramp onto there, and there are cobblestones the further down the road you get. It's absolutely hammering it down now at the start, as that rainstorm has moved across away from the open roads into this closed area now, and Alexander Vinokurov's face says it all. He's a tough Kazakh, and he's been used to some dreadful conditions in his career, but this is not nice. Look out, oh, fingers crossed for everybody. Oh, they get off the ramp okay to start with. And away they go. And Vinokurov looking up at the heavens. This is Milram coming for their intermediate checkpoint. The Astana team, of course, got some good riders in there. I think, I'm just trying to think of the Russian champion. Grifko, of course, is the Ukrainian national champion. The green jersey here isn't a champion's jersey, by the way. It's the mountains classification jersey on the shoulders of Paul Voss. And nothing to write home about from Milram. Cervélo coming up to finish their team time trial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men still remain. One of them being Carlos Sastre, who we can see. The time they're aiming at, 36.50. They won't get that on. There's still just under a kilometre to go. Agniatis Konovalovas, the Lithuanian time trial champion, is leading them home at the moment. The other riders here just trying to keep everybody out of control. I can see Iñigo Cuesta is still in this group. And tipping into the finish. Javier Tondo is there, I think. They have to stay there. All the big favourites, people who are needed for later on, they have to be in here. Vis. So they've lost 3 men on the way. They might well have used them up in trying to maintain a fast time, and they've done a good job of it if that's the case, because second fastest is Team Katusha. As Sean was saying, they've got to try and keep Tondo and Sastre up towards the front. And they've done a good job. Third fastest for Cervélo TestTeam, 37.15. That's a good finish, Sean, and they've clearly done what you suggested. They've sacrificed a couple of their riders, or that seems to be. They've sacrificed a couple of riders, keeping the time very high.
Yes, you know, they've put in a good time there. We see, you know, third position at the moment, and that's what they have again. They really have got, you know, limit their losses and against the other big favourites, because they have Tondo and Sastre, and you know, it's an important day for those riders that they try and limit their losses against the other big favourites, and the Cervélo TestTeam have done a good job there today.
Yeah, I think so. Very good time indeed. Cervélo TestTeam. We saw Cuesta come over the line. Gustav was the sort of rather swarthy looking chap. Vis was there, I think. The riders they've lost. I'm not sure I saw Tondo. Yeah, Tondo is the big, very tall, lanky chap. So Daniel Lloyd not finishing with the group. I don't think Ted King was, but might well have been wrong. Or Gabriel Rasch. Under the 3 kilometre to go banner then for the Garmin transition squad. And just fighting to stay on for as long as he can at the back is Jack Bobridge once again. Remember, his first big race was Tour of Romandie, after being in the World Track Championships. But he will have done some more on the build-up to Romandie. He did suffer in Romandie, as we said, we were commenting on earlier. And I think he's finding this jump up to these big races a little difficult. They are beginning to get a little bit out of shape here, Sean. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4 riders at the front. They don't need to lose any more.
Yes, well, it's always a problem in the end, you know, just to keep enough riders, keep the amount of riders needed in there, and you know, they've got their 6 riders here. They're trying to, you know, keep at that in case they have a little bit of a problem in the just final 2 kilometres. But you know, riders are on the limit, and as we see with the Sky team, you know, everybody is just, you know, after giving it everything, and when you get to that final 3-4 kilometres, everybody's in pretty, you know, the tank is pretty empty, and you just try and cling on in there. And if you take 2 or 3 bike lengths, you know, then you get caught there in the rafting, and you lose the wheel, and very difficult to get back in with your teammates.
5th fastest, 20 dead for Liquigas. Mathieu Bobna leading them over the line altogether. Now, we did not see go off the ramp Saxo Bank. We should have seen them go off the ramp, I think, if the director had thought about it. Because they have Richie Porte lying 2nd overall in the general classification, also leading the Best Young Riders competition. He won the time trial in the Tour of Romandie. He's been absolutely mighty here so far after the first few days, kept himself well out of trouble, the young Tasmanian. And Saxo Bank are a very good team time trial team, so we will await their arrival at the first intermediate checkpoint, or whenever we see them on camera, with anticipation. This is the Garmin transition squad trying desperately to keep their men together on the running, with Svein Tuft pushing as hard as he possibly can now. With the Canadian national time trial champion just behind him is the Australian time trial champion's jersey, or skin suit should I say, of Cameron Meyer. And then David Miller, the big tall form of David Miller, getting to the front, driving along as fast as he can now. The 2 riders suffering a little bit at the back are Daniel Martin, you can see, still on the widest part of the bars. Fighting, 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 along with Jack Bobridge. Miller on the front. The fastest time so far is 36.50. They're not going to beat that from Sky. Miller, Tuft, Meyer, then Martin. And at the back at the moment is Jack Bobridge, swinging his head from side to side. This is really hurting for the young Australian. Miller pushes through. He's only 3rd, remember, on the general classification. He's hardly any time down at all. If they get a decent time today, he could be right up there. I don't think it's going to happen. Remember, we're talking about handfuls of seconds here, not 20 or 30 seconds. That's what's going to make the difference today. Garmin transitions come in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 36 seconds down. 37.26. Liquigas out on the road, all riders together. 36 seconds down for Garmin transitions, who have just finished. The big question is, what was the gap between some of the other riders and David Miller, who started the day just 1 second down on the overall classification, and really driving for it. This team here has Vincenzo Nibali at just 5 seconds off the pace, and then, as Sean was saying, Marcel Seberg Matt Goss and Andre Greipel of Team HTC Columbia locked after that at 7, 10 and 10 respectively. Well, we haven't seen Saxo Bank out on the road at all. Remember, Richie Porte lying second overall. He's on the same time as Alexander Vinokurov, but Vinokurov higher up thanks to his better placings at the end in the bunch when they finish. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But Miller, can he do it today, Sean? He's only 1 second down on Alexander Vinokurov, and that'll be the big question.
No,
Carpets,
he cannot do it because Carpets, he's 22 seconds.
I was just about to say, yes, you're doing the maths.
22 seconds, Carpets have an advantage over Miller, and he was 17 seconds down, so Miller cannot take the jersey. If the time stays as it is, Carpets is the one who is the best to take over the race leader's jersey. But you look at the Liquigas team here, they are doing a very good time because they were, what, 29 seconds down on Sky at that 17.9 kilometres. So they're putting in a very good performance, and you know, they have Nibali up there who was only at what, 5 seconds.
Yeah,
so it looks like they, you know, they could be a danger one for the general classement to take over there, and also the team HTC Columbia. But the team Saxo Bank, that's the interesting one to see what they are doing. We've got nothing over race radio here, nothing about them at all.
Nothing about them at all. I'm very, very surprised. Our picture's coming live from Rye, the host broadcaster, so it's their director who's chosen which teams to show. This is HTC Columbia coming up for their time on the line. Again, remember, 3 men with a shout of the leader's jersey today, and they must really have more to push for than anybody else. Coming up to the line in 34 seconds down. Plus 34 on Sky. That's I think what we're most concerned with. 4 seconds down on Liquigas at that intermediate checkpoint. Sky did a 19:31, but you can almost discount that because really they're not in the hunt for the pink jersey today. Garmin did a 20:14, so the gap already 10 seconds between HTC Columbia and Garmin. Not going to happen for David Miller today. Still a good time, but it's not going to happen in terms of taking the pink jersey. But he will still be there or thereabouts, Sean. So not a good complete disaster for them.
No, not a disaster, but I think it's a day where you know, the opportunity for him to take the jersey, it was a real opportunity to take, considering a team trying through the Garmin, very, very good team in that discipline, and they didn't look good. And when we looked at them a few times, they never seemed to be flowing that well. The line wasn't good. They were very much bunched together. When we see the Sky team, it was a lot of the time, you know, just one single line, and that tells us that you know, the way the team is turning. And I think they struggled all the way, and not the best of performance from a Garmin team that we know, and we have seen them, you know, produce some great team time trials, but not the greatest of ones today.
No, unfortunate. This is Rabobank. Again, they had Peter Weening was pretty close on the general classification, but and he's at the head of the line here. Weening started the day 16 seconds down on the pink jersey. They've managed to keep all their riders together, and he's driving towards the line. He can't drive too fast. Remember, they need 5 people. Very concerned to get 5 people there at the same time. BMC's time, which looked so good early on, slipping backwards and backwards, and Evans will just have to, well, just pray that not too many other people super quick. 37:41 for Rabobank. So at the moment it looks like Vladimir Karpets may be the man in pink. Still have, remember, Liquigas to finish. Well, Milram, Liquigas, HTC Columbia, Saxo Bank and Astana. Well, still amazed why we haven't, I think perhaps they haven't got enough camera motos, Sean. I think they probably had to make a call about which cameras they put where, and they've decided that Saxo Bank won't be the one they put it on.
Yes, well, Saxo back to the one, and Astana as well. We see them going off the ramp, and we haven't got any pictures. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah.
So yes, I think it's a question of having enough motorbike cameras out there, and it'll be interesting to see now what the Astana team can do, because again, I think you know, they have a lot of very, very good time trialists here, and you know, with the race leaders jersey within the team, it always gives a little bit of a boost to the team to put in a better performance, and it's very much equal out on the road for the last teams we've seen here. You know, the conditions have been very much similar, so you know, no advantage really between the big teams here at the moment, and interesting to see now what the Astana team and Saxo Bank, to see what sort of at the intermediate, to just get a time and see what they're performing.
That's it, isn't it? So we just need to wait and see, really. Alexander Vinokurov, though, clearly in the best shape we've seen him for a while. And very keen. Looked pretty keyed up, though, I thought, Sean, on the ramp. He looked pretty nervous about that rain coming down.
Yes, well, you certainly would be, you know, as a race leader, just to get off the ramp alone in that pouring rain. It's always a little bit of nervous time, and you can see the ramp there. It was a very, very steep one, and you know, just to get rolled out, and so much surface water out there as well. It's, you know, always concerning when you're trying to defend the race leader's jersey.
Our first view of Saxo Bank as they come up to the intermediate checkpoint. Well, they're not super fast. That's the answer to that, because they are outside of two other teams already. Sky have blasted them so far, and Liquigas have gone through pretty quick too.
Yes, outside the Liquigas at 20.01, so they're going to be outside that.
Yeah, they are. And now they're just going to come outside of Garmin Transitions 2014. 8th fastest, 47 seconds down already. Well, that's not so good for Saxo Bank today. Not so far anyway, but you never know. There's there can be different ways of riding time trials, as we've seen before. Maybe they will begin to push on a little faster in the second half. Still a big gap though. 47 seconds is a long way. I mean, that's off the back of Sky there. Remember, what we're really concerned about is what the gaps are between Katusha, Garmin, Liquigas, HTC Columbia, and Saxo Bank themselves. Garmin went through that intermediate checkpoint in 2014. Liquigas, the best, at 20. Then HTC Columbia at 20.04, and now Saxo Bank at 20.18. So they've lost. Well, Richie Porte so far has lost 4 seconds to David Miller. They've lost a heap of time, I would suggest, to Katusha. Remember, we didn't get the intermediate checkpoint from Katusha. But Nibali looking as though he's sitting pretty to me at the moment, Sean.
Yes, and when you look at the time of Liquigas, you know, 20, I think it was 20.01 or 20 dead, so, you know, 17 or 18 seconds down for Team Saxo Bank. It's not a disaster at the moment if they can really finish strong, and sometimes teams, you know, they can do that. They can just, you know, put in a very good performance to that point, the intermediate checkpoint, and then really turn it on in the end. And if the Saxo Bank can do that, we've seen it often before, that they can really put in a very strong performance in the final kilometres.
Just making sure all 5 riders get to the line is Linus Gerdemann in the 201 in the yellow-rimmed specs there. And they have Thomas Roeriger not that far off the general classification. 24 seconds down, Roeriger. Robert Foster just a little bit above him. Foster, of course, an out-and-out sprinter. 6th fastest time in 37.34. That's not a bad time, actually. For Milram, back up with the road with Astana. Andrei Grifko in the wheel of Alexander Vinokurov, who seems to be taking fairly big turns at the front. They're looking good, though, Sean. They do look pretty well lined out.
Yes, the line looks good there. 3, 6, 7 riders at the moment. Is there another one to come through? But he looks to be turning quite well. Yes, down to 7 riders. Looks okay at the moment, but again, it's the watch who will, really give us an indication what way they are at this first intermediate checkpoint.
Yep, just slipped in behind Goran Stangeli as Alexander Vinokurov. Goran Stangeli, Slovenian. We saw him on a big long break at the World Championships, if you remember. Liquigas, I think, is still going very well indeed, by the look of it. Keeping their shape.
And all 9 riders.
Yeah, absolutely. With Bodnar, remember the man in the Polish champions jersey. Well, that is good for Liquigas. Finally, they seem to be showing some form. They had a bit of a disastrous, well, I don't say disastrous, but we were never really sure whether they were a unified force when it came to the classics, and also in Romandy and Paris, especially in Romandy, with Roman Koisinger and Peter Zagen. It's picked up where it left off from previous encounters, and I'm not really sure whether they're a complete unit or not. I don't think they knew even. Very difficult when you've got two such talented riders. Astana then coming up to get their first intermediate checkpoint, and they're certainly not as fast as Sky, but that doesn't matter. It's about the others that are important. Slower than Katusha. Slower than Omega Pharma by the look of it. They might just about hang on in there for that. Oh no, they're going to slip outside of that as well. Oh, 5th, 6th. 7th fastest, 34 seconds down for Astana. Well, they're in 1 second of HTC Columbia. The gap between Astana and or with Alexander Vinokurov and David Miller was just the 1 second. Here come Liquigas to finish their run in. 36.50 was the time they're aiming out of Sky. This is good. This is very good. Ivan Basso is on the front. Sylvester Schmidt on the left-hand side with the yellow-rimmed glasses. Maciej Bodnar sits in second spot at the moment. Final flicker left and right here. I think they might get quite close to the Sky team here, Sean, by the look of it.
Yes, it's looking good, and it's certainly looking good for their best man in the general class, Nibali, because he's very much up in the general classification there, and they're going to seems like they're going to push the Sky team for the top position at the moment.
It certainly does, and they've kept all their men in the process. Nibali is the man in the left-hand side of your screen. He's just dropped off now. There he is. He's going to lead them home, pushing hard. Vincenzo Nibali, he knows he could go into the pink jersey tonight. They're driving towards the line. They're going to take the first spot as well. 36.37. 13 seconds faster than Sky. 36.37. That is now the time we've got to look at. It looks like Vincenzo Nibali is the man who might well be in pink now. Vincenzo Nibali was the man who led them over, looking back over his shoulder to see where they were. That looks good for Nibali. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders for Astana. Jersey of Alexander Vinokurov. And the blue and yellow Ukrainian champion skin suit of Andrei Grifko. Good ride by Liquigas once again. We just go back to that for a minute, Sean. All the riders there, all coming home safely and taking it from Sky as well.
Yes, it's a good performance because, against the Sky team, I think it's a great performance by the Liquigas team, and they have the rider up there, and they also have Basso, who is just a bit further down the general classification. He's at 18 seconds, so that the stage victory, I think, is, you know, it comes as a bonus, but they are really just going out there and try to keep their men up in the general classement. And of course, the bonus here with Nibali being so close up in the general classification, it looks like that he's the one who's going to take the race leader's jersey here today.
It certainly does.
But when you look at the intermediate times, of course, Astana are only 4 seconds down on Liquigas, and if they can really put in a strong performance in the end, as for other teams, you know, it is possible in the final kilometres if a team can finish very strong, who are maybe at 6-8 seconds. 10 seconds at that 17.9 kilometres, if they can just really finish strongly. And a team with a lot of riders, as we can see, Team HTC Columbia here with a lot of riders. Astana had quite a few riders. They've lost, I think, 1 or maybe 2. So they're 7 riders for Astana here. So they're, you know, they have the numbers all the time. They could, you know, put in a very strong performance, a very strong final kilometres here.
Remember, there are no extra bonifications or bonuses for the riders finishing first, second and third, or the teams finishing first, second and third in a team time trial. So they sort of 20, 12 and 8 seconds can go out the window. You don't have to worry about that here. Marvellous ride by Liquigas. Sky must be absolutely gutted. They've put in so much effort. HTC Columbia, another team who, in their guise as Columbia and in their guise before that as the T-Mobile team, were really T-Mobiles were one of the team to beat in this sort of situation. It's a fine tradition. Nice following shot. It's the first time we've seen this one. Well done for the director for having that. Interesting to see if Saxo Bank pick up any speed, but that doesn't seem to have been the case with any of the other teams, Sean. They've picked up speed in the second half, having lost it in the first.
No, but again, the teams I think we're looking at maybe earlier on, not in that strength and depth as, you know, the teams are coming through. Like here, Columbia, Saxo Bank, I think they're the teams who could do that in these final kilometres.
This is HTC Columbia. The time of Liquigas, the fastest so far, 36:37. Good crowds, not as spectacular as the ones that we had in the Netherlands, though. They're going to be a fair way outside of the Liquigas time. The question is, can they keep their 3 men up there, somewhere there or thereabouts in the top 10 would be good for them at the moment. They're lying 5th, 6th and 7th. Marcel Zieberg at 7 seconds, and then Matt Goss and Andre Greipel both at 10 seconds down. Here they come then, Marco Pinotti on the far right-hand side. Now moving into the centre, the Italian time trial champion. Francesco Rabon is the other national champion here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over they go. That's good, 36:58. 21 seconds down. 36:58. They go third fastest so far. Ahead of Team Katusha, the gap not big enough for Vladimir Karpets to leapfrog them. He would have needed 7 and 10 or 10 seconds respectively. And so I think they'll keep their men up there just about, unless they confirm different timings, of course. I think that Karpets will rise, but Zieberg, Goss and Greipel will just about be ahead of Vladimir Karpets at the moment. Back down on the road with the ever-brightening skies looking down on the big jersey of Alexander Vinokurov. Astana down to 6 men now. It's still looking quite good. I mean, they're real strong. There are some strong characters in this this outfit that could really help today. At the back, it's Kiriev. There's Stangeli still in there, I think. Goran Stangeli, the Slovenian. I haven't seen Gasperotto yet. Looks like he might well have gone from this group now. Yes, he has. I don't see Gasperotto at all. That is Stangeli right at the back. Just ahead of him is Kiriev. The other rider is Joseph Choufray. Easy to spot the pink jersey of Vinokurov, of course, and just behind him is the Ukrainian champions skid suit, which is on the shoulders of Andrei Grifko. Joseph Choufray is one of the other riders in here. Goran Stangeli is another. I would guess probably the last one is Valentin Iglinsky. The weather's just picked up a little bit for them now. They looked very nervous off the start ramp, and as Sean was saying, it was a pretty steep start ramp. Is there a point when in your team time trial like this, Sean, when you've gone through that initial stage like they have here of dreadful weather and negotiating those sort of things, the sky clears up? Does it lift the clouds from your mind as well as physically as well? Do you think, right, now we can really motor?
Well, yes, it does give a little bit of comfort when, especially the big downpour that they went through on this round before the halfway point, and when you have so much excess water on the road, difficult to stay close to the wheel in front of you. And of course, you know, with the time trial helmet and with the visions on the front, you know, the water splash, it makes it very, very difficult to see. And it's a concerning time for a race leader, because, you know, you're depending on the other riders not to make a mistake. If it's an individual time trial, well, then you can calculate and, you know, you have to make your decisions. But you're depending on, you know, the other 8 teammates to make the right decision, not to go into a roundabout too quickly and slide out and take off a number of riders, or a rider touch a wheel, as we can see here. One of the Astana riders just, you know, losing contact, and he seems to be giving a signal to the car to get him to slow down, but I don't think that's going to be possible now, because they cannot afford to do that. They just have to take the risk and go on with 5 riders.
Yep, I don't think they're even going to bother with that, and it's going to be Alexander Vinokurov who dictates the pace on that. I don't think it's going to be anything to do with whether Goran Stangeli wants him to slow down or not. He's gone onto the back here.
Well, it's probably tactic that, you know, we have to keep 6 men in case of a problem in the end, in the final kilometres. And if that was a tactic, you know, going out, but as in all races, you know, open road races, the tactic can be blown out the window very, very quickly. And in a situation like this, you really have to go on. If Stangeli is suffering majorly, you just have to go on and leave him there.
The man at the front of the Saxo Bank squad who's just peeled off is Gustav Erik Larsson. Richie Porte, best young rider in the white here. Still with this group. Fair amount of groups together. 36.50 is what they were aiming at. HTC Columbia is now the next target. And Porte, who started the day second overall, absolutely identical on time to Alexander Vinokurov. There he is on the right-hand side. He's going for the line now, ahead of the rest of them. I'm immensely impressed by this young man. I really am. Look at this. He knows he's got everything to go for, but he's still got all the other guiders to get across the line. It's just youthful exuberance there. Finish the time 50 seconds down, 37.27. Alexander Vinokurov in pink, Grifko behind him. The two of them been locked in this position for a lot of this 33 kilometers, or 27, 28 that they've done so far. The Astana squad. And clearly, Vinokurov, if nerves get to him, he's going to start ripping people's legs off, because he seems to be that way inclined at the moment.
Yes, he's surely doing big long ones in the front. We can see here he's taking his pull on the front and staying a long time there, and he's by far the strongest rider here, but still we can see they're holding in there with 6 riders, which is important, and it's difficult to see them beating the Liquigas team, because at the intermediate time there was only 4 seconds in it, and the way the Liquigas were going in the end with a full squad of riders, I think it looks like Nibali could be the one who take the jersey, but you never know. Sometimes it can be deceiving when you see the riders here. They could finish quite strong from the Astana team.
Could be. Clearly pushing them along when he gets to the front, doing a big turn. Now Grifko doing the same. He's been looking very good. Pulls off. Let's Joseph Jouffre, I think, go through to do the next bit. Not such a great ride by Saxo Bank, there or thereabouts. Richie Porte looking strong though, the young Tasmanian rider. He was the man who obviously went for the line himself. Clearly a young man not in a hurry, but a young man who wants to succeed. He can see things, great things ahead of him. But 50 seconds down on the fastest time of the day, Liquigas. He's going to lose quite a few places today, unfortunately.
Yes, he is going to, and I don't think it's the best performance. We would have expected the Saxo Bank, to put in a better performance. And against Liquigas, you would always say Saxo Bank would have the advantage. But maybe it's Liquigas has just putting in a great performance today, and Saxo Bank have just put in their normal run, because when you see Liquigas beating Sky, that is a big performance.
Yes, indeed. A big performance, you'd say. From Liquigas, especially with all of them turning up on the line at the end. The time to be beaten then is that Liquigas time of 36:37, and Astana still with 6 men together. Goran Stangeli was the very tall rider who takes over at the front now, the Slovenian who was having trouble hanging on when Vinokurov got to the front. Stangeli does a very small turn and looks over to his right, because Vinokurov has thought, right, time to go. Jouffre pulls off. No more for him. They've got to get 5 to the line. And Stangeli's going to hang on for grim death now. Look, he's no good shaking hands. There's no other rider to go with you. Joseph Jouffre is off the back, and Stangeli's going off the back too. He's got to fight to get back on. Under the kilometre to go banner. As soon as Vinokurov gets to the front, he just rips people's legs. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Look, he's so cross with that. Had to slow up.
It's not going to happen. They're going to be outside the time of the Liquigas team, because we can see that the Jones going through the kilometre. It's not going to be possible for Vinokurov to hold onto the pink jersey.
And look, they've got a man gone back to help pace up Stangeli now. To try and pace him up. He keeps looking over his shoulder, and Stangeli can't even get on the wheel of this man either. Oh, 500 metres to go. It's all down to Goran Stangeli as to how fast he can just put himself up the road. 400 metres. Oh, he's gone. Oh, it's no good for Vinokurov just yelling at Stangeli. He can't go any faster. He's trying as hard as he can. Oh, it's all over the place for them, Sean. They've gone to pieces. Look, and Vinokurov knows it.
Yes. And, continuing on as they did, I think you have to just slow it down a bit, allow Stangeli to get back into the wheel, and then there's some chance that he can cling on in there. But when you're, 10, 15 metres, 20 metres off the rear, you're going to take all that drafting. And when a rider is cooked, and he certainly was dead in the last number of kilometres, we've seen there 4 or 5 kilometres having problems just to stay in the wheel, and he's done a very good job to hang on for so long.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I know it's frustration from Vinokurov, but Stangeli was on the edge for what, 7 or 8 kilometres, and he's done his utmost to stay there. And all he's done now is fight for the last 2 kilometres to stay anywhere near that rear wheel of the rest of the men ahead of him. Vinokurov then loses 38 seconds to the Liquigas team, which means he loses at 33 seconds to Vincenzo Nibali. Nibali, it looks to me as though will be in pick tonight.
Yes, it's sure that Nibali is going to be the leader, and you know, what a performance by the Liquigas team, and taking the race leader's jersey for the team, and you know, getting their two men up there in such great position, with Ivan Basso really, you know, gaining a lot today on the other big favourites. So they have really, you know, had a great day within the Liquigas team.
They certainly have. Not such a great day for Astana. Here we are. Liquigas take it from Sky at 13 seconds. HTC Columbia at 21. Katusha at 27. Astana 38, and they're along with Cervélo TestTeam. Good ride by Cervélo, great ride by Sky, good ride by HTC Columbia. Not such a good ride for Saxo Bank off this top 8 here. Garmin transitions at 49. David Miller, well, he couldn't take the big jersey today. They were a bit rough around the edges to start with, then managed to get it together. Very good ride by Omega Pharma Lotto. But Liquigas arriving with all their men at the line, and taking 13 seconds out of Sky's time.